Hey, YouTubians, welcome back. Welcome back to the Openly Occultic Book Club. Um, I'm thankful to have you guys here with me. We're reading the definitive book of human design. Let me know if you can hear me out there. Let's do a mic check before we jump into all that. Let's do a mic check. Mic check. We're at the end of the definitive book of human design in section 10. We're in section 10, and the last part of section 10, actually. We're going to be reading through gates 51 through 64. Um, the definitive book of human design has been a great read. I enjoy reading it. This system was created by a man named Ra Uru Hu. Now, he's not alive anymore, but he was alive when this book was written. This is actually the only authorized book on human design. There's plenty of books on it, plenty of information to learn, but this is the only authorized version of the definitive book of human design. So, uh, just so you know, right? Little FYI, if you will. So like I said, what we're doing here is I said I'm gonna go ahead and go live for this episode. We spent a year on the definitive book of human design, just about coming up on a year since we started this. And of course, this was the first book in our openly occultic book club, right? So uh, I felt like we needed to give it its proper time. It's a new system. So I started out kind of on the extreme end, right, of this occultic talk. Well, it's not really extreme, but it's a new system. And truth be told, I feel like it's Tartarian in nature. I feel like the human design system is Tartarian in nature. We'll talk about that later on throughout the show, or definitely in my conclusion when I wrap it up. But I feel like, well, human design is a synthesis of the Hindu chakras, it's a synthesis of astrology. We have the Kabbalah, the Chinese I-ching. They're all combined in this quantum physics, genetics, right? So all of these things are combined. I often tell people, hey, make sure you share this video with people that are into astrology, right? Because, hey, if they're into astrology, they're definitely going to love the definitive book of human design. Definitely, you know? So they'll just love the system in general, right? So I want you guys right now, while you're tuned in, to go ahead and like the video, share the video out. We're live right now. We're talking about the definitive book of human design. This is the last video of this book because we're moving on to another book as soon as we conclude with this book. Right? We're moving on to another uh, energy work type book, right? The book is called the Openly Occultic Book Club. I don't want people to get spooked out or scared of these words. Occult only means hidden, right? It only means hidden. And so when we read these occultic books, what we're looking for is just the understanding on energy, right? We're in the age of Aquarius right now, right? Um, we're learning about self love. To learn about yourself and to love yourself, you need to know your makeup. Yes, we have human bodies. We also have we're we have a human a meat covering over our light body, right? We all have auras. That's not just humans, but that's animals, right? That's plants, trees, flowers. Everything has an aura. Everything that's alive has an aura, and chakras. So and in human design, we get to talking about neutrinos. That's the scientific word is neutrinos. I want to thank you guys for joining me. We're going to get into this book. I just want to kind of talk about these things before we, just kind of see if we got any people out there that are not busy at this time of day and ready to hear about this human design. This is our celebration in so many ways. We are concluding the human design book. We're moving on to other books in this openly occultic book club. I'm excited. I can't wait because I started out with the human design book. There is a method to my madness. It's very intriguing. It's a lot of information. A lot of people have not heard of it. Less than 1% of the population, I'm sure, has heard of human design. So I said, hey, let me go ahead, because once I saw it, I knew instantly, hey, this is impactful. This is describing me. There's something here, right? So I said, I want other people to know about this. Let's just get it out there. I'll just go ahead and, I love to read. So we started the book club with this book because, and I just randomly heard about it myself, a few years ago. I was just scrolling through Twitter and ran across, talk about the definitive book of human design, or about human design in general. So I said, hey, what are we talking about? So I Googled it, YouTubed it, and found quite a lot of information. Found plenty of books, plenty of resources, found different Facebook groups on human design, right? So I just kind of fell into it. And I said, wow, and I want other people to hear about it, because before human design, I was very much into astrology and natal charts and this, that, and the third. So, I felt like this was something that I wanted other people to share the joy of, because it definitely brought me joy, right? And I wanted to talk to other people about it. So we got this website going, right? Let me pull the website up. Matter of fact, I got a website, and what we're doing on this website is I created a chat room for it. Let's see it. I created a chat room, CG's chat room. If you go to cedargroveherbs.com and you go down here to the side, you'll see the CGH chat rooms. And you just click on that. It'll open up to chat rooms. And what you got to do is just go ahead and hit these three buttons at the top, right? All the different rooms will open up. I have 7 rooms. I'm a life number 7. So I'm partial to this 7, right? I think it's a magical number. I love being a life number 7. It's an interesting life, I'll say that. So you just click on the openly occultic room. If you want a copy of this book, incidentally, because I'm not going to read the appendix, but if you want a copy of the book so you can read that on your own time, you just jump in this room and tell me, hey, I like a book. You could click on the previously button up here and see that other people have been interacting, and you too could come in here and say, hey, I'd like a copy of that book, and I'll go ahead and email you a copy of the book. Right? That's what we're doing around here. The assignment is to raise your vibration. Right? That's the assignment. So I'm very much into um, talking about energy work, talking about things to do with energy work, basically, right? Things that we can do, uh, excuse me, things that we can do to make our quality of life better, right? So, this human design blew my mind. And we've spent a year talking about it. We spent a year talking about the human design system. I think that's a fair amount of time to get people to at least hear about it. I wanted people to at least just hear about this term, human design, so that later on, when they're ready, they'll be like, hey, and hopefully they won't forget who they heard it from, right? Hey, CGH, right? Cedar Grove Herbs, Fee at the Openly Occultic Book Club. Yes. So, I just, I like to, my incarnation cross, according to human design, my incarnation cross is the vessel of love too. So, I do a lot of humanitarian work. I guess you could sum it up in that term. I just want, I just wish the best for everyone. I know life can be tough and difficult, and especially with all these different obstacles in the way to distract us or incorrectly inform us, right? So I like to just kind of talk about these things, not necessarily be a teacher. I'm not a teacher per se. I don't like to use that word. I am a natural, whatever the term it is, but I like to just, and that's why I'm just reading books in here. I don't have to teach per se. I can just read and give my opinion, because who am I? You yourself are just like me. You're in a human body. You got a brain. You got your organs, your chakra systems, right? Your inner. You got a higher self. Your inner light. So, all I can really do is tell you to look within, right? I'm not a teacher. I'm just here to remind you or point the direction. If you want to know what to do, look within. Go ahead, meditate. Listen to that still, quiet voice. You'll get clarity. You'll get your answers for sure. So we're gonna jump into this book, right? We're gonna jump into the book. We're ready to read. We're ready to see what we're talking about here. Um, let's see. Here we go. Um, we're not at gate 48. That's just where my PDF is at the moment, but we're definitely not there. We're on gate 51, right? We're on gate 51. Let's get this going. Excuse me. I need to put that. So this is our second live, right? I've been practicing with my equipment. Yesterday I tried to go live and I was just dealing with my equipment. I'm glad I did that because I'm a quick learner and I just want everything together because I love to just be able to jump on here and talk about my thoughts or read a book without any complications. I just need it to be fast because I move fast. My mind moves fast. I have thoughts all throughout the day. So I wanted to be able to make sure my setup was set up. How's everything looking? Can you guys hear me? Can you see me? Are you enjoying what you're seeing right now? How's it going? Leave me a comment. Let me know that you're here with me, right? Let's make sure that we get these likes up. Let's get the subscribes going. Listen, I've been doing my best to do this community, right? Grow this community. We want to go in the chat room. You have access to this chat room 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can leave comments. Anybody can drop in, and we could talk about this energy work together in a safe place. That's what we're doing here, right? We want to talk about it. It is wake up season. That's what I call it. It's wake up season. This is the age of Aquarius. Everything done in the dark coming to light. And so that's why I said we're openly occultic here, right? I don't want any of this information to be hidden. We need to know this information. So we are going to know it. We're going to learn it. If you're here with me, thank you so much for being here with me. I appreciate you. I appreciate you being here with me. Um, so let's see. We are on gate 51. Let's pull that up. And you guys can hear me. I see you guys can see me. Gate 51 is called the arousing shock. The ability to respond to disorder and shock through recognition and adaptation. Now, if you're just joining us, in human design, I told you earlier, it's a synthesis of all these different systems: astrology, the chakra system, the i-ching, the Chinese i-ching, right? The Kabbalah and what have you. In human design, gate 51 would be called hexagram 51 in the Chinese i-ching, right? And that's good information to know because an additional reason why I wanted to go over this definitive book of human design and spend time with people who could consider human design, I wanted to talk about cosmic human design. Because in cosmic human design, and that's about the cosmic I Ching, let me go to their YouTube channel. I would like you guys to see the YouTube channel of the cosmic I Ching, which is called Cosmic Human Design. So let's go ahead and let's pull that up. I'm going to pull it up in just a moment. The cosmic I Ching or the cosmic human design takes you a step even further when you're tackling or learning about the different energies and frequencies that you're particular to or that is built into your energetic pattern. What you come to find out is on the cosmic I Ching, They're discussing the blockages that are happening that you're susceptible to. If you have gate 51, line 6, for instance, on your chart, you pull up gate 51, line 6 in the cosmic i-ching, and what you end up finding out is that there are blockages, if you will. There's something stopping you from this greater you, and it has everything to do with the ego, right? It has everything to do with the ego. And so what this cosmic I Ching is doing is letting you know about the poisonous arrows, the spells that are being launched at us, launched at you, and how you can overcome. It's really thought patterns that you're having to overcome, certain ideologies that society has conditioned you to believe. You have to tackle these thoughts, and it's letting you know that in cosmic human design. It's letting you know that in cosmic human design. So, another reason why I wanted us to read the human design book or learn about the definitive book of human design and the human design system was because this final battle, this war, everybody's talking about war, right? I need to go ahead and change the live stream title so that people who are all caught up in this talk of war will be intrigued to come over here and listen to what's being said, because the real war is your internal war. It's the war in your body. It's the war against parasites, thought forms. It's the war against your ego. Excuse me, these headphones, right? It's the war against your ego. So when you start talking about um how do I get rid of this ego? What do I do with the ego? Excuse me, it's going slow because I have all this stuff running on my computer. The website's loading slow. But you start saying, well, what can I do to tackle this ego? And how do I become aware of thought forms? What thought forms are causing false, it's like you're creating a false reality. So which thought forms are doing that? I want you guys to go to the Cosmic Human Design channel, and I want you to go to the intro videos first. You need to get the introduction, understand the occultic energy work behind this, right? Because that's what we're doing in human design. We're talking about occultic energy work, right? And again, like I said, I think it's Tartarian. I think it's pre India chakra systems, which is 7 chakras. So it's talking about 9 centers. And I have a video on my channel. I was discussing how in Africa they had 9 centers before or simultaneously with India, talking about 7 chakras. So I say that to say within human design, they're introducing this new idea that, 9 centers just came about when Herschel found or discovered Uranus in 1798. I made a whole video on this. This is, up there because you, for the main part, you're a beginner here listening to human design, but I had questions. I did some research. I discovered some things and I made a video about it. You could check that out. But in the end, ultimately, because I don't want to shatter your perception, I don't want you to throw the baby out with the bathwater. But ultimately, I want you to just have an open mind and understand that with all things, you have to take the truth out, extract the truth, and throw the rest away. You don't throw the whole thing out, though. But there's a little bit of truth being said, or a lot of truth. It doesn't matter. But there's still some things that are not true. So I brought up the cosmic human design because we're dealing with thought forms and lies, if you will. This is the age of Aquarius. So when you're dealing with the thought forms and the ego, when you're engaging in this real battle, right? Not all that external stuff, but the real battle within you, you have to deal with the ego. And cosmic human design, I feel they gave a great understanding about this. And I'm really interested in anybody who's into cosmic human design. I have nobody to talk to about these things, right? I'm here building my tribe. I'm looking for my people that are into the things that I'm into. So I would love if you are into cosmic human design, if you understand what's being said there, and if you feel like it's got its place, please leave a comment, give me a thumbs up, maybe in the chat room. Let me know, because for me, I felt like it was a great information. But anywho, we're gonna get back to the book. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll get back to the book because we haven't even read anything yet. We're just getting started, right? So we said on this episode, we're live because we're reading the last bit of the definitive book of human design. We're moving on to a new book after this video. So we're going to read all the rest of the gates. That's gate 51 through 64, and we're going to do it live right here on YouTube. So welcome, my YouTubians, right? My openly occultic book club people, right? And while you're here, I want you to go ahead and make sure you give us a thumbs up. Make sure to like the video, share it. Maybe somebody who's very much into astrology is out there right now. They would love to hear this, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Now, gate 51 is called the arousing shock, right? The ability to disorder and shock, the ability to respond to disorder and shock through recognition and adaptation, right? Let me know if you guys can hear me. I should leave a comment in the room. Should I leave a comment on the stream? Let you guys know, hey, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining me. Let's read about human design live. Right? We're coming to you live from an undisclosed location. All right, so let's see. Gate 51, the arousing shock. Line 6 is separation, right? So here on line 6, separation, we have the sun is exalted, Pluto is in detriment. In times of crises, when all those around are confused and in disorder, the ability not to succumb to the panic, but to have the will and vitality to survive it alone. The power of the ego to meet challenges alone. Okay. Now, of course, within line 6, you have a polarity. So you're going to have a this and that. You're going to have two bookends, one with the lower vibration and one with the highest vibration that frequency can go to, right? In so many ways. So we see the sun is ruling that high frequency, and then Pluto is ruling that lower frequency. We're not saying good or bad, right? Good or evil. We're not using those words here. Not at all. We're just saying the this and that of it, right? Just the this and that. It's just the lower vibration of that energy is this, and then and of course there's a whole spectrum of energy in between that. So this is really just letting you know about the bookends, the ends of the limit of that frequency. So we just read the high frequency, the high vibration of that line 6 separation, right? The power of the ego to meet challenges alone. And then on the flip side, you have curiously the same gift, but one by its attitude that invites disapproval, that in the extreme may even prevent a successful separation, right? The egoism to meet the challenges alone that may provoke and empower the challengers. So you can see how that you could see and understand the this and that of that energy. Line 6, this separation energy. It can happen by one of two ways. This separation can happen because you have the power, you have the ego within you to go ahead and go it alone. And then on the flip side of that, having that energy to be able to have the will within you, the ego within you, the power within you to go it alone, it can also manifest itself in another way, a lower vibrational way. And that is the egoism to meet the challenge alone that might provoke and empower the challengers. You get it? I love it. I love it. We're really just putting a name to things. You've lived with you your whole life, so you know you have this energy. If you're a gate 51 line 6, you know all about it. But now we're putting a word to it, and I'm like I like that because I'm into organization. I'm into details, right? As we read through this book, I've shown you my chart and I've shown you who I am and the energetic makeup I have. So I'm into details, and I like to be able to name this. I'm very organized. So there's that, right? I got my tea, guys. We're drinking tea today. I got alfalfa because it's full of nutrients. I have dandelion for my liver, right? And burdock root. So, and I got a little lemon in there, right? A little alkalizing, make it alkalized. Right? We're fighting a real battle. We're fighting parasites within our body. That's what we need to be focused on. We don't have time to be worried about all that other stuff. There's parasites within us. They're ruling our minds. They're taking over our thoughts. We gotta stay optimal in optimal health and do what we can. We got all kind of tools at our disposal. It's not just teas, crystals, music, tuners, right? I love putting on my house music and we have to talk about that. We're going to talk about it as we read because it's telling you about the low vibrations, but we know that we practice alchemy around here. We know we don't have to sit in those low vibrations. We know as soon as we recognize that we're moving into a lower vibrational frame of mind, we know we can reach out and use different tools to raise our vibration, right? The assignment is raise your vibration. Line 5 is called symmetry. We're going to be here for like 2 hours, guys, because I'm reading live and I keep interjecting. So just get ready, right? Line 5, symmetry. The sun is exalted, Mars is in detriment here. Perfected illumination that, in grasping the nature of the shock, can transform its normal patterns into a symmetrical adaptation that rides the shock and avoids its devastation. Nice. Nice. The perfection of the warrior ego through instinctive adaptation. Okay. Okay, I see you. On the flip side of that energy is a tendency in seeking the core to harmonize with one shock only to be overwhelmed by the next, right? So, in seeking the core, you have a tendency to harmonize with one shock and then get overwhelmed by the next one. The egoism to indulge in victory and lose vigilance. So you can see how this symmetry energy can manifest itself in this or that way. There's a polarity. There's that space in the middle. And remember, we around here we practice wholeness and balance. So you want that in the middle because you're both of these things or neither of these things. You just are. Wholeness and balance, right? So just be yourself and practice balance. You'll be all right. Line 4 is called limitation, a pure inventiveness and sometimes genius to find some opportunity even in the midst of the most devastating shocks. The warrior ego that will find some way to answer the challenge. Okay, this is line 4, limitation. It's exalted Uranus is where it's exalted, right? That's Uranus. And then Mercury is where it's detriment. Now watch this. I have a special affiliation, a special place in my heart for Uranus. I don't know why. But in reading that, it made me think of Kanye West. I don't know why. Now, interesting fact, both me and Kanye are Geminis, and we both have Uranus in our fourth house, right? So I was looking into it, and we got to talk about it one day on another video, openly occultic podcast video, because when I was looking up this word genius, I ran into information about Uranus in the fourth house and Neptune in the fifth house. I just learned some interesting things. So um, it's funny that this word genius is written here when we're talking about the higher vibrational Uranus ruled frequency of this line 4, right? Limitation. So on the flip side, a reasoned make do mentality that is ineffectual in times of severe shock, the superficial ego that lacks the resources and depth to answer challenges. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Line 3, adaptation. The sun is exalted, Jupiter is in detriment here. The life sustaining awareness that thinks on its feet and thus creates opportunities. The power of spontaneity in times of challenge. Wow. Yep. It just naturally occurs. This is the energy you have. On the flip side of that, the destabilization that occurs when one's field of normal activity is radically and unpredictably disturbed, where the tendency is withdrawal rather than adaptation, right? The ego that may be destabilized in times of challenge. Hmm. When I thought about that, the ego that may be destabilized in times of challenge, there's a lot of children of divorce, and some of them, not all of them, some of them have a hard time dealing with it. It feels very destabilizing them to them, and it's too much. So I wanted to throw that out there because we're reading this stuff, and in reading it, you're giving yourself an opportunity to understand humanity, understand life more. So therefore, you can have a little bit more grace and mercy, a little bit more understanding when dealing with people, and understanding and knowing that this person is having a hard time with this situation. And now I know that there are people out here walking around that have gate 51 line 3, and on their lower frequency they do get destabilized when they're going through difficult times. So at the very least, now we know that there's some people who exist that have this energy. Everybody's not going to react the same way in times of challenge, right? Can you leave me a purple heart if you understood that? If you heard that, can you leave me a purple heart? Let's show a little love out here, right, people? Let's show some love. Let people know that they're not alone. We do understand, and maybe not fully, but we'll do our best to understand a little bit better because we get it now. Knowing is half the battle, right? So now we at least know, and that's something that counts for something, right? So line 2, withdrawal. The record, it's ruled by Mars. Mars is being exalted here, and Mercury is in detriment here. The recognition of the mechanics of shock that indicates when withdrawal is the only logical action. The instinctive withdrawal when the power of the ego is threatened. And then on the flip side of that same energy, being too smart for one's own good and rejecting withdrawal in the vain belief that one can outsmart natural forces. See? The egoism to reject withdrawal and face possible defeat. So, hey, if that's you and you're dealing with it, now you know what you're dealing with, and how on some days, not all days, but on some days, that's the energy, that could be the outcome. And now you could do what you can to practice holiness and balance, right? We'll check out Cosmic Human Design, right, for these tips on how you can battle and fight that ego and win. You know what I mean? So line 1 is reference, the advantage of previous crises experience. Pluto's exalted, Venus is in detriment. The gift of reexamination that is the foundation of preparedness. The power of the ego conditioned by experience. Hmm. The gift of reexamination, that's the foundation of preparedness. So here you have this is called reference, the advantage of previous crisis experience, right? So you've been through it, you can handle it. On the flip side though, there's a tendency to emotional withdrawal after a shock, the weakness of the ego in times of challenge, right? Oh, gate 52, keeping still, mountain, stillness, temporary and self imposed inaction for the benefit of assessment. Line 6 is peacefulness. Venus is exalted here, Neptune is in detriment. A harmonic and balanced attunement that is at ease regardless of the situation. Nice. The lack of pressure in times of stillness. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes that energy manifests itself as delusion as a substitute for genuine tranquility. Given the positive nature of this position, the delusion may be just as effective as the real thing. Wow. So here, the pacification of the energy is extreme. Pressure, real or imagined, does not disturb the illness. Okay, so either way, if you have this one, you can still get done what needs to be done because the delusion is just as effective, right? Hmm. Okay. Interesting. Line 5, explanation. In times of inaction, the often important ability to explain one's position, right? The Earth is exalted here. Pluto's in detriment. The often terse but exceedingly accurate statement, where inaction and focus can lead to detail. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then on the flip side, a convolution whose enigmatic nature is normally misunderstood with unpredictable circumstances. So here, too much inaction can lead to a loss of focus and not to detail. So, on those days you're like, hey, just give it up. Today's not the day. Let me just enjoy myself. Let me go play some GTA. Let me go, have some fun. Enjoy life. Today's not the day to where I can just sit in silence and get this clarity, right? I can focus and get this clarity. No, today's not the day for that. So, and that's okay. You don't have to be on all the time, right? Not all the time. And thankful for that, right? Thankful for that break. Shoot, now I can go do something else. Today's not the day for me to be focusing on the details and stuff like that. All right, line 4 is called self discipline. Saturn is being exalted here, and Jupiter is in detriment. Perfected self discipline and restraint that deals easily and wisely with impulsive temptations. The energy for restraint, which recognizes the value of stillness and focus. Okay, we read this. Um, and then, oh no, we didn't. Well, I did. You guys, I started to read this yesterday. I read the whole thing on a video. I wasn't streaming. And then my equipment didn't record like the last hour. It was like 2.5 hours. It didn't even record it. So I did read this yesterday. So, anywho, line 4, the detrimental with Jupiter, it says, though responsive to the need of a principled control based on the understanding of conditions, there is a tendency due to its natural expansiveness to doubt and restlessness. Restless energy and doubt in the face of restraint, right? So on one side, because we're talking about self-discipline, on one side we know there's this perfected self-discipline and restraint that deals easily and wisely with impulsive temptations, right? They can recognize the value of stillness and focus. But on the other side, there's a restless energy when they're dealt with restraint. So they're dealing with doubt in the face of restraint. Same energy, just two different polarities, two different extremes to the end of it. Okay. Line 3, controls. External enforcement of inaction. The ability, by its very nature, to understand restraint with the potential in acceptance, to use the period to redefine strategies. The energy for acceptance in inaction. External enforcement of inaction. The ability, by its very nature, to understand restraint with the potential in acceptance, to use the period to redefine strategies. You can accept restraint and take that time to redefine strategies. That's what's up. On the flip side, though, because that's not you all the time, sometimes you have a deep dissatisfaction with controls that disturb tranquility, and it leads to emotional withdrawal and affects, you know. the goal, your vision, not your eyesight. The pressure of restraint disturbs tranquility. Hmm. It just disturbs your peace, huh? Yeah. Line 2, concern, the pause that's initiated to benefit others. The pressure to restrain energy for the benefit of others. That pause, to be able to take a pause, right? That's Venus exalted. Then you have Mars in detriment, right? A selfish and abrupt pause that may endanger others unnecessarily. The pressure to selfishly restrain energy at the expense of others. Mm, hmm. Line 1, think before you speak. Earth is exalted here, Mars is in detriment. The pause that's so profound that it leads to silence. The pacification of energy that leads to stillness. Okay. On the flip side of that, you have speaking first and living with the consequences afterwards. Energy that cannot be stilled. Yeah, yeah, I kind of know about it. I have an open throat center. Blew my mind when I read about human design. I kind of knew just from life experiences, living life, I learned along the way that I'm not received all the time when I speak. But then reading human design and it was showing and talking about the open throat center, and you just have you feel the need to speak because you're feeling the energy of all the people around you who have defined throat chakras. And it's actually an intense pressure or more energy. You feel it even more than you would because that's what, because, because your center is open. My throat center is open. So I'm feeling it even more from other people. So you feel a pressure to speak. And this is what I'm reading, but I already knew this just from living. So to be able to put a name to it, put words to it, and know, hey, I have an open throat center. It's not always good for me to be talking. It's why your strategy and authority come in, right? Follow my strategy. Speak when, if it's good for me to respond to that, you know, and things like that. Little tips that I learned reading human design. I'm very thankful for this book. I enjoy learning about it and practicing my experiment, right? Practicing with these things, experimenting on these things to see if, yeah, if it actually does enhance my quality of life or not, right? So, gate 53, development, beginnings, right? Line 6 is called phasing. The moon is exalted here, Pluto is in detriment. The successful utilization of the completion of a stage in development that by its evident success and value can be used as an example to attract support for the next stage. The energy to attract support for beginnings based on the success of the past. Yes. Okay. So that's this energy, this line 6 energy in gate 53, exalted. The energy to attract support for beginnings based on the success of the past. Now, on the flip side, right, the this and that of this energy, a tendency in this position to hide success in the perverse fear that the success will either create excessive demands or supporters of the original process will end their support upon completion. So here you have the pressure to hide beginnings in fear of losing past support. Well, we're not ruled by fear around here, family. We instinctively understand that when we start dealing with fear and doubt, we're dealing with low vibrations. So we practice alchemy and we do what we can to hurry up and get out of that low energy. We don't want to dwell in that at all. So, because it's a rabbit hole, it leads to worse and worse. That ego takes over. We don't want to be taken over by the ego or nothing. We're sovereign. The Sovereignty 2026, that's where we're at. So we practice wholeness and balance. And we practice alchemy when we realize we're getting in low vibrations. We do what we can to raise our vibrations, right? All right, line 5, assertion. Neptune is exalted here. The earth is in detriment. The underlying and often psychic recognition of the intrinsic intrinsic values of development that even in periods of isolation has the assertiveness to maintain direction. Its very power garners continued support even from those who are basically opposed. So here you have the pressure to recognize the value of development and the energy for beginnings regardless of circumstances. Yes, assertion. Absolutely. And it's an often psychic recognition, right? You just kind of can zoom in, focus, and you can just pick out, you see what is valuable, what would be valuable to develop, right? And to put your energy into. That's nice, regardless of circumstances. And its very power garners continued support, even from those who are basically opposed to it, right? So this idea of yours, you know what I mean? The very energy of the very power of this frequency. So that's what's up. Now, there's a polarity to it, right? There's a this and that. You're that a lot of the times, but sometimes, once in a while, there's an over assertiveness that rather than apply to maintaining support in the face of opposition and isolation, may actually strengthen the opposing forces by its attitude, this over assertive attitude, where the energy for beginnings attracts the very forces that can abort it. Wow, attracts. Because everything is frequency. We're reading about the frequency here, line 5, and then it has multiple frequencies, at least two that we're being told about, the polarities. But also, life is not just frequency, it's also magnetism. So it's letting you know this same frequency can also attract the very forces that can defeat it, abort it, end it, if you will. That attitude over assertiveness. Gate 53. I need to pull up my chart, huh, guys? Do I have this gate? What about me? Thought we were sharing charts around here, right? We're sharing charts. I'm sharing my chart. Being transparent, right? Being my authentic self. And going ahead and being transparent. I've been sharing my chart and we're talking about it. I'm looking for my, gate and line twins. Meet me in the chat room. Let's talk about what it is to have this kind of energy within us. So let me pull up my chart and let's see if I have this gate. I need to pull my chart up, right? Here we go. So, do I have gate 53? Let's see. No. Do I have any of the gates that we've read over so far? I don't see any so far. So we'll get back to my chart later. Um, and we're good, right? Cool. So where we at? We're reading gate 53. We're talking about assertion. Well, we just finished talking about it. Now we're going to go ahead to line 4, assuredness. The moon is exalted here. Venus is in detriment, right? The ability to maintain the strength of one's individuality in complex and often awkward situations that ensure continued security and development. So here you have the pressure to maintain one's individuality in confused beginnings. Nice. You can still maintain your individuality in complex and often awkward situations. Now, on the flip side, we're dealing with the persistent difficulty with embarrassing or awkward situations where normal emotional reactions may prove detrimental, right? Individual pressure for beginnings that creates awkward and sometimes embarrassing situations. So it's both pressure, individual pressure. One is this pressure to maintain your individuality in confused beginnings. But that same energy has a polarity to it. And that polarity is individual pressure for beginnings that actually creates awkward and sometimes embarrassing situations. I'm sure that's tough. Let me know if that's you. Do you have gate 53 line 4? Let me know in the comments. Let's know. Let's talk about it. Let's let us know that you're here with us. Line 3 is practicality. The moon is exalted here. Mars is in detriment. In its most natural position, the concentration on avoiding conflict to ensure protection and continued development. Right? The pressure to eliminate conflict in order to develop. It's great. We're not going to let nothing stop us. So, yes. And it's the most natural position, right? The concentration on avoiding conflict so that you can continue doing what you're doing. On the flip side, there's the unconscious provoking of conflict. You're trying to get away from it. Here, you're for the most time you're avoiding conflict, but here you have an unconscious provoking of conflict that logically threatens security and development. Energy which provokes conflict and threatens development. Mm, okay. All right. Line 2 is called momentum. The moon is exalted here. Mars is in detriment. The protection of early success nurtures further achievement. The pressure to start something new based on past success, right? The pressure to start something new based on past success. And then on the flip side, a tendency with early success to haste and imprudent action. So here you have the pressure based on success to be impatient for something new. Man, yeah, the this and that of that, right? Success breeds success. Sometimes the lack of patience is the problem. There's a pressure there, which is causing you to lack patience, right? Line 1, accumulation. Neptune is exalted here. Venus is in detriment. The dissolution of old forms, but not at the expense of valued components that will be retained and transformed. The pressure to begin something new, not from scratch, but based on the foundation of the old. Nice. So you hold on to what was useful and you're going to transform it in this new form. That's what's up. On the flip side of that, there's development hampered by criticism and the tendency to withdraw rather than make use of these experiences. The difficulty in starting something new because of the criticism that accompanied the old. Yeah, yeah. Well, but you already know the answer. Just hold on to what's valued out of that old and transform it. Wholeness and balance, guys. Wholeness and balance. We have gate 54, the marrying maid. Let me look at my chart to see if I have gate 54. I don't have gate 54. Um, as we're reading through this, because we're going to read the rest of the gates 51 through 64, I won't really have anything come up until we get to gate 57. Okay, I'm going to keep that in mind. Gate 57. So we're on gate 54, the marrying maid, right? Drive. interaction in its mundane social context, but also one's mystical and cosmic relationships. Okay, this is about interaction in social context, but also with your mystical and cosmic relationships. Line 6 is selectivity. Saturn's exalted here, Jupiter is in detriment. The ingrained responsibility in terms of maintaining security and personal identity that will naturally restrict its relationships to ones that are mutually beneficial. Yes, symbiotic relationships, right? It's not just take, take, take. I need a give and take, right? That's the high vibrational energy here, right? The energy to restrict relationships that hinder ambition. So they got an energy for boundaries, right? On the flip side, a generally benefic and expansive nature, right? It's ruled by Jupiter. So we know Jupiter is about expansion and growth. A generally benefic and expansive nature that assumes that it can instill what is otherwise missing in its partners. A waste of energy. The waste of energy in maintaining relationships which hinder ambition. So, on one side, this person has the energy for these boundaries. They're going to cut off anybody and everybody naturally who is not in a give and take relationship with them. Somebody that's not mutually beneficial, they cut them off. But once in a while, you catch this person, and they're expending energy, wasting energy, really, in trying to maintain relationships that hinder ambition. So they're not always 100% on these boundaries. Sometimes, wholeness and balance. Because is it really a waste of energy to spend time showing somebody love? That person gets the opportunity to experience love. They're not going to change, but they did at least get a taste of what it's like to experience love. So, it's not really a waste of energy, just kind of cut it short as soon as you catch yourself doing that. Right? We practice wholeness and balance. We're not people pleasers. We're not doing that. We've heard about it. We've tackled that. We're not. We've catch that when we see it in ourselves. We're like, no, we need mutually beneficial relationships. We need symbiotic relationships, a give and take, right? Line 3 is called magnanimity, and there's no detriment here. Just the sun being exalted here. The natural authority and actualizing spirit that in a position of power can have genuine and fruitful relationships with the less advantaged, as long as they're in service and make no demands, right? The energy for actualizing that despite this power, excuse me, the energy for actualizing that despite this power fuels fruitful relationships with others. No polarity, no detriment, right? So that's awesome right there. That is awesome. This person has a natural authority and an actualizing spirit. And when they're in positions of power, they can have genuine and fruitful relationships with the less advantaged. I like to hear that. Line 4, enlightenment, endarkenment, right? Enlightenment slash endarkenment. You want to be that slash in the middle. You want to practice wholeness and balance. You're either both of those or neither of those, right? Line 4, enlightenment, endarkenment. Here, in the most mystical of positions, there is neither an exaltation nor a detriment, for in truth they are the same. Didn't I just say that? Check that out. I said you're either both or you're neither. There's neither exaltation here or detriment. The Alpha and the Omega, The end and the beginning. There is no description possible. It's like the Ouroboros, right? Each planet will manifest this energy uniquely with absolutely no guarantee that its effects will even be perceived. However, the potential is always there. The fuel for transformation at its purest level. Wow. No polarity, no specific planetary accent. Excuse me. Amazing. Hey, do you have this line? There's no polarity here. Do you have gate 54 line 4? Let me know in the comments. Put a thumbs up in the comments. Where's my gate 54 line 4 people at? I don't know. Where's my gate 54 line 4 people at? Let's go. All right. Well, where we at? We're on line 3, covert interaction, right? Covert interaction. The ability, and this is Pluto exalted, Venus is in detriment. The ability, when stymied in formal relationships, to use secret or purely informal channels when it's the only resort. The drive, when blocked, to use secret means to fuel ambition. Okay, okay. On the flip side of that, Venus is in detriment. The insistence that formal channels, no matter how frustrating, can be overcome by the power of attraction. Magnetism, right? Frequency and magnetism. The energy of ambition, when blocked, will fuel the power of attraction to overcome the obstacle. That's how they deal with it. That's how they deal with this. This is their line 3 energy. So there's the this and that of this energy. On one hand, the drive when blocked to use secret means to fuel ambition. On the other, the energy of ambition when blocked will fuel the power of attraction to overcome the obstacle. Good stuff. Isn't it funny? Isn't this cool how we have all these different gifts about us? Just all this diversity, right? Line 2, discretion. Saturn's exalted here, Mars is in detriment. The wisdom, once a relationship is formally recognized, to restrain the temptation to take advantage of past informal interactions. The energy of restraint fuels ambition. Nice. The wisdom to formally to restrain, you know, to restrain from the temptations and take advantage of past informal interactions. Hey, we can't be mad about it. And that's a high vibrational energy, as we see. Here is wisdom. On the flip side of it, recognition in the formal sense, seen as a license to take advantage of informal knowledge, a lack of loyalty, ambitious energy which can fuel disloyalty. Mm. Mm-hmm. Well, now we know, right? Now we are aware. Line 1, influence. The ability to achieve influence through secret relationships, anywhere from the private advisor to the Satanist. Pluto's exalted here, right? The ability to achieve influence through secret relationships, anywhere from the private advisor to the Satanist. Ambition energized through secret relationships which fuel influence. We're talking about influencers, right? Influencers. On the high vibrational level, they have this ability to achieve influence through their little secret relationship. You don't know they're a Satanist. You don't know they're into Wicca. You don't know that they're a Muslim. You don't know this. But for some reason, this ambition is energized through this secret relationship, and that fuels influence. Isn't that interesting? That's interesting. Now, on the flip side of that same energy, Venus is in detriment here. So now a socially misguided insistence on formal recognition of a relationship that, in terms of influence, will diminish its power. So dang, hold on. Ambition which demands formal recognition, limiting influence. So you better not tell everybody you're a Satanist, right? If you have this energy, your influence is heightened because it's a secret. As soon as you start telling everybody, I want everybody to recognize Satan is behind this. Boom. It diminishes his power. Dang, bro. Better not tell everybody, you into this or into that. Better keep it quiet. Keep it a secret. Your influence and power is demanding, counting on it being a secret. That is wow. Do you guys, anybody here have Gate 54 line 1? I got some questions. Can you talk about that? I can't even ask you questions, right? You got to keep it a secret. I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. But that is a low vibrational. It's a trip because it's a socially misguided insistence. So it's low vibrational because you're looking for validation from everybody else. Whatever secret relation, whatever relationship you got going, that's between you and that's you. You want validation for, I don't know. I'm just reading. I'm gonna keep going. We'll just go ahead and go. Hope nobody was offended. That was very insightful though, personally, because now we know how some of these people are. You wonder about some of these singers, they can't sing, or this actor sucks. How come they're like so powerful, or so loved, and so why are they that guy? And it's like, hey, they have this energy with them. They have Gate 54 line 1. Isn't that interesting? Because their ambition is energized through their secret relationships, and that fuels the influence. You're trying to figure out how they even popular, how are they even hot like this? This is crazy. But some people walking around have that energy. Wow. Yeah, cool stuff. Cool stuff. All right, Gate 55, abundance, spirit, right? Abundance is strictly a question of spirit. Line 6 is selfishness. Saturn is exalted here, the moon is in detriment. Acquisition, obsession, that through alienating is still indirectly beneficial materially to others. Acquisition, obsession, we're talking about selfishness, abundance. We're talking about abundance. There's like 6 different ways it can manifest. We're on line 6, selfishness. It's called selfishness. This abundance can be acquired through selfishness. And that itself manifests itself in at least 2 different ways: the exaltation, a higher vibrational way, and the detrimental, a lower vibrational way. So check it out. The high vibrational way of this abundance that has been gotten through selfishness is acquisition obsession, that through alienating is still indirectly beneficial materially to others. The possibility of finding the spirit through materialism. Wow, right? Wow. On the flip side, you have where the material abundance exists, but no one gets to share its light. The no moon phase. The possibility that materialism becomes obsessive with a mean spirit that will not share. Selfishness. Hmm. Wow. Line 5, growth. Uranus is exalted here, right? The sun is in detriment. The unusual ability in a position of power to accept advice and transform it innovatively. This gift in a position of power allows one to continue to lead rather than being perceived as being led. Wow. The emotional strength and spirit derived from positions of power. Okay. So here you have the gift. Here you have someone who is this is an unusual ability. Uranus is here, so it's an an unusual ability in this position of power to accept advice and transform it in their own way, and still, instead of being perceived as being led, they're being still perceived as a leader. Right? Nice. The sun is in detriment here, and for that, you have an integrativeness, an integrative openness that, in its broad acceptance of advice, may be eventually eclipsed. Right? So they're so open to all this advice and an emotional openness where the spirit is at risk from conditioning. Mm, absolutely. All right. All right. We also have line 4, assimilation. Jupiter's exalted, Mars is in detriment. You have the establishment of a framework that balances principles with energy and leads inevitably to expansion and prosperity. The possible spirit that comes when emotional awareness and energy are balanced and principled. Wholeness and balance, family. The establishment of we're talking about assimilation. We're talking about abundance and really abundance of the spirit, right? But don't worry about it. We're talking about assimilation when it comes to acquiring this abundance, this, uh, you know, spirit. The establishment of a framework that balances principles with energy and leads inevitably, it's going to happen, to expansion and prosperity because Jupiter here is exalted. Nice. The possible spirit that comes, excuse me, yeah, the possible spirit that comes when emotional awareness and energy are balanced and principled. Nice. Okay. Now, on the flip side of that very same energy, you have boundless energy that knows no restraint, boundless energy that ignores awareness at the risk of the spirit. So, at least now we know. Now we can be aware of that energy. Line 3, innocence. Here, I was only following orders is a genuine defense. Okay. Saturn's exalted, Mars is in detriment. Here, I was only following orders is a genuine defense. Innocence. Okay. When the form is correct and attempts at actualization have been disciplined and within guidelines, failure cannot be personally attributed. You did your best. The emotional possibility to recognize that despite one's best efforts, failure is possible and does not need to affect the spirit. No, don't let it get you down. I'm not going to let it get me down. I did my best. I did everything I could. I did my best. Innocence. Nice. On the flip side, Mars in detriment, where a struggle against conformity or individual initiative can bring a superior to ruin while safely hiding behind his shield. Mm. A struggle against conformity or individual initiative can bring a superior to ruin while safely hiding behind his shield. The energy to selfishly protect one's spirit at the expense of others. Okay, I get it. I see how that could play out. And we're talking about innocence and abundance, how you could still acquire stuff, how you could still reap benefits. Here, there's no blame. There never really is, though, isn't it? There never really is any blame, is there? Line 2, distrust. Abundance hampered by slander or gossip. Venus is exalted here, the earth is in detriment. The gift of being able to penetrate to the center that may demonstrate effectively through its relating talents that its truthfulness is genuine. Emotional stability and the strength of the spirit is dependent on being trusted by others. Right. Here's someone who sh- who embodies genuineness and truthfulness, and this actually is what gives them emotional stability and strength of spirit, being trusted by others. So they have this gift anyway, naturally, to give off that energy. On the flip side, though, once in a while, the direct challenge to the slanderers, who will always have the advantage of quoting the bard, methinks he doth protest too much, right? If the shoe fits, wear it. A hit dog don't holler. This is a direct challenge. Anytime they directly challenge those slanderers who always can say that type of stuff, uh, it only is continued example only continued example can overcome distrust. So you have to just keep doing what you do. The emotional drive to insist on trustworthiness that does not guarantee its acceptance by others or benefits the spirit, doesn't even benefit the spirit. You can't make them, you can't stop them from saying that. They're going to say it. They always have an option to say it. There's always that they can say. All you can do is just keep on doing what you're doing. You already have this natural aura. You already give off this energy of being genuinely trustworthy. They're just saying that shit because they're haters and they like to do it. They're trolls. They got that troll energy once in a while. We're not gonna take it too seriously. Just keep doing what you do. We try to operate in this life as just an observer. We try to detach as much as possible and observe the experiences, feel the feelings, recognize and see the difference between the not self and the authentic you. And the same for everybody else. You can see when they got that mask on and they're not being themselves. They're being what they think or what society told them they need to be. Saying what they think society or what society has told them they need to say. Stop it. You can tell the difference and then you can see who's being their authentic self. Right? And you are authentically giving off a genuine vibe of trustworthiness. Okay. Line 1 is called cooperation. Jupiter's exalted, Venus is in detriment here. The expansion of activity through cooperation with powerful forces through principled actions that guarantee continued support and engender prosperity. The potential to find the spirit through cooperation with powerful forces. Yes. Yes. Um, in my mind, I always think of the hoodoo when the helpers, powerful forces, seen and unseen, the elements, earth, wind, fire, air, right? The spirit and the metaphysical energy behind that physical manifestation. So, harmony with the universe, harmony with life, right? You have some people, they'll go, and before they'll pick berries off a plant, they'll thank the plant, the bush, for the berries. They'll ask permission. Do you mind? Could I take some of these berries? I won't take all of them. I'll leave some. That type of stuff. Cooperation with the world around you, reality, the forces, right? It says within this, you have the potential to find the spirit, right? Potential to find the spirit through cooperation with powerful forces. Now, of course, we're not just talking about the hoodoo and the unseen elements, the powerful forces that make up our reality, but that too. As above, so as above, so below. As within, so without. So that too. The expansion of activity. This is the high vibe. This is your luck, growth, expansion. Jupiter is exalting this. The expansion of activity through cooperation with powerful forces through principled actions. So you're cooperating, but you're actually also cooperating using principled actions. Put that on the record. That's what that says. So you're not just cooperating any old kind of way with these powerful forces. You're cooperating with these powerful forces through principled actions that guarantee continued support and engender prosperity. Thankful. Is my stream messing up? Is my stream I feel like it's buffering or something. It's doing something. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. Huh. Okay. I see what needs to be done, but I can't do anything about it while I'm live, so there's nothing I can do. Maybe I could close a window or two if I got something going on here. I'm gonna close a window. See if that helps. All right. So we're still reading Gate 55. We're talking about the exhaustion part of it, the high vibe part of it. Also, you have Venus in detriment here. So here you have the concentration on harmonic relationships with powerful forces that provide for continuity, but not necessarily advancement. The potential to harmonize with powerful forces, but not necessarily for the benefit of the spirit. hmm So that too. That too. We got to fix this stream. We can't be buffering like this. All right, we're on gate 56, right? We're on gate 56, guys. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. Click that notification bell so you won't miss any notifications. This is the last of the human design book. This is the last episode on the human design book. But we go on in the Openly Occultic Book Club. So we'll be reading another book. I am excited about the next book. So make sure you subscribe and click the notifications so you won't miss out on any of these videos. I'll probably be doing this next book, going live again, and we'll start reading the next book in the next few days. I got a few other things I need to get done, but we'll definitely be doing that within the next few days. So make sure that you, like I said, we want to like, share, and subscribe, right? Click that notification. Gate 56, The Wanderer, Stimulation, Stability through Movement, the perpetuation of continuity, Stability through movement, the perpetuation of continuity through the linking of short term activity, right? Through short term activity. All right. Line 6 is called caution. The sun is exalted here. Pluto is in detriment. The prudence, when linkage has been achieved, to honor its new commitments in order to secure its footing. Honesty in expression, living by one's word, right? Your word is bond. So, high vibrational. Pluto is in detriment here. The profound unconscious wanderer, where external yearning for acceptance will unconsciously release the exact energy that creates rejection. Man, a difficult role where the self is unknown and not recognized with predictable results. Mm. Wandering throughout the life from one expression to the next, unable to find the stimulation that one could live by. Wow. Is that you? Stability through movement, gate 56. Caution, right? On one side, on one hand, there's honesty and expression, living by one's word. On the flip side, it's wandering throughout the life from one expression to the next, unable to find the stimulation that one could live by. So your word's not bond in those moments. Wholeness, right? You're both. We can't sweep our negative vibrations under the rug. We can't act like they don't exist. The best we can do is recognize them, acknowledge them, learn to work with them, learn how to make it, how to work with it. You know what I mean? So the first step is just wholeness, right? Recognizing that we have both. We're not just one, we're both. And then balance. We try to balance it out. That's all. It's real simple. It's very, very easy. Well, maybe it sounds easy. I don't know. How's your human design experiment going, guys? How's it going? Line 5 is called attracting attention, right? Gate 56, line 5, attracting attention. Uranus is exalted here. And I see the genius word again. That's so funny, right? It's always this connection with genius and Uranus. And then Mars is in detriment. So here it says unusualness, innovation, and sometimes genius as guarantees of eventually attracting attention and support. Stimulation at its most innovative and unusual. Yes, yes. And then on the flip side, it says all too often the tendency to attract attention that is self defeating in its effects. The power of stimulation to provoke and disturb. So sometimes it's all amazing, it's unusual, it's innovative, it's different, but it works out. It's like, wow. And you attract that attention and support. And then on the other side of that same energy, it's the same energy, it's just a polarity to it. On the other side, it's the power of stimulation to provoke and disturb. Right? Hmm. What you think about that? Any thoughts on that? We also have line 4, expediency. The moon is exalted. I asked if anybody had any thoughts because that actually reminded me more about Kanye West than the other one that we read, right? Uh, Kanye West is my Uranus twin, y'all, and Gemini. He's a Gemini sun and a Uranus in the fourth house, just like me. So he's my twin in so many ways, and I'm not even mad about it. So when I read that, this line 5, attracting attention, isn't that what Kanye be doing? Be attracting attention for good or bad, don't he? And so, on one hand, it's stimulation, because we're talking about stimulation. On one hand, it's stimulation at its most innovative and unusual, you know, and that's cool. Definitely his fashion. I don't know. But he's having a good time. If he likes it, I love it. On the other hand, it can also, this power of stimulation can provoke and disturb. And some people feel that way too about Kanye at different times. So he's not always, this, he's sometimes that. Right? Just like all of us, okay? Come on. So, moving on, we have expediency, line 4, the perfection of the superficial personality that can mask, when essential, its true feelings to secure protection, right? The gift for stimulation as a role and for protection. It's just expedient. It's just the best way to go about it, right? High vibrational. But there's a polarity to it. And you do have a low manifestation of that frequency, right? It's the best way to put it. You do have a low vibrational manifestation of that frequency. Yes. And that is ruled by Mercury. Expedient behavior, whose price is a constant, stressful alertness and nervous anxiety and fear of losing what's been gained, right? The role as reality, the fear of silence and of being uncovered. So, on one hand, the gift for stimulation as a role and for protection, this mask, using this mask when necessary to mask true feelings to secure protection. But then on the other hand, this role, you start to believe it. The role as reality, right? The fear of silence and of being uncovered. So you just keep this mask on all the time. It's constant. You're on a constant stressful alert. A lot of nervous anxiety. You're in fear of losing what's been gained. Once you start thinking about fear, like we said, once you're scared, fear, and start thinking of things like that, you know you're in low vibrations. You have a lot of tools at your disposal to deal with uh low vibrations. You can drink teas. I got some now, right? Your nervous energy, you need something for the adrenals, you need some blue vervain. I'm drinking some now. You need some chamomile. You need what you need to skull cap to lessen the nervous anxiety, right? To calm you. You can use sound therapy. You can use tuners, frequencies, 432, right? 728. You can use all these different frequencies, or you can just put on some rock music. You can put on whatever kind of music you like. Just something with love at the root of it. Something, you know what I mean? You just practice with your different music, whatever makes you raise your vibration. That's what you need. You use that. That's your tool. You know, you could do color therapy, right? We got all kinds of different light bulbs out there. You can do color therapy. There is color therapy. You're dealing with your chakras, your red root chakra, your orange sacral chakra, your yellow solar plexus, green heart, right? Or pink, blue for your throat, purple third eye. Come on. So you can do color therapy. All kinds of tools at your disposal to raise yourself from out of that lower vibration. So I don't want you to forget that. I want you to use whatever tools you have at your disposal. We are conscious. We're interacting with this life. We're living this life, you know, and we're doing the best we can to have the best life at that. You know what I mean? We're living and living well. Come on. So keep that in mind when you start feeling fear, right? Line 3 is alienation, determined self sufficiency. The sun is exalted here, and Mercury is in detriment. A will and egoism that often proves overbearing and guarantees continued isolation. Here, this is acceptable given the sun's intrinsic vitality, the drive to control and be the focus of expression, right? So it makes sense. A will and egoism that proves overbearing and guarantees continued isolation. This is alienation. And that's the high vibration of this line 3. You're talking about determined self sufficiency. We're in the 56th gate, the wanderer, stimulation, right? So for line 3 alienation, we're talking about determined self sufficiency. And here, in its exalted state, in its high vibration, here you have this will and egoism that proves often overbearing and guarantees continued isolation because you're learning to be self sufficient. You got that energy going on. The drive to control and be the focus of expression. It's all about you. It's your world, you know? On the flip side, you have the reversed aesthetic that offends others. And by that way, you ensure isolation and also eliminate support. So, see, that's the low vibrational. Now you're also eliminating your support. You're offending others and it eliminates support. You're getting that alienation. You're learning to be self sufficient by being alienated. True enough, isolated, facts. And you go about it in one of two ways. At the very least, there's a polarity here to that energy. I love to read about it. I love to know about it. I like talking about this. I want to talk about this more with other people. I want you to meet me in the chat room. Hold on, let me play this video. I want you to know how to get to the chat room so you can meet me there and you could talk to me and other people that are into this in the chat room. So let me go ahead and play that video for you. Okay, so meet us in the Openly Occultic Book Club chat room. We want to talk about these things. This is exciting to me, and I hope it's exciting for you. I just want to find the people that it is exciting to, so that you could come and meet me in the chat room. We could talk about it. We got plenty of time to talk about these type of things. This is what I'm into, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to continue on discussing the things we're doing. Excuse me, I hit a wrong button somewhere. What are we doing? Sorry. I'm going to do something. I'm going to turn it off because I don't know. But this me. So we're going to continue reading. We're in gate 57, 56, and we're going to gate 64. We're finishing out this book. We're doing it live because, hey, we're excited about the book club. We're excited about this book. We've been enjoying reading this book, right? We gave human design a whole year of our attention. We took our time. We processed it in between episodes. We processed what we read. We read it again. We just really compared our human design body graph charts with what we were reading about, the different gates and the different, all the different things that come along, right? We've been learning keynoting. Now we can look at these symbols and know what we're talking about, know what we're seeing. We've just been learning a lot along the way. And we're glad. I think we're better for it. I'm better for it. I know myself a whole lot better now than when I started. It's like the second time, the third time I read this book. So, it's so much information. I can only retain so much. But now I know I have a lot of tribal circuitry more than anything else, than the family and individual circuitry. I know so much more about myself reading this. And I learn more every time, or it soaks in more. I'm able to understand it better every time I read it or look into it. So, I'm not a master by any means. I've only known about human design for about 4 years, but definitely have learned about myself and others, particularly my close family members. I can understand them better. So I appreciate it for what it is. Um, we said line 2, linkage, Uranus exalted once again. The moon is in detriment. Once again, this Uranus is associated with this word genius. We see that as well. So, line 2, linkage. Isolated genius that will eventually find continuity through recognition and support. A genius for stimulating expression that will take time to mature and will need others to recognize it, right? A genius for stimulating expression that will take time to mature and will need others to recognize it. On the flip side of that, and Moon is in the detriment here, excuse me. So on the flip side, you have a superficiality which collapses under recognition and is eventually forced to move on. So now, when the recognition comes, it collapses. Mm. A gift for communicating, but not enough depth. Mm. Okay. Line one is called quality. The moon is exalted there, Mars is in detriment. The practical sense that even short term activities should be of value. Expression of practical ideas that have value, right? Expression of practical ideas that have value. Practical sense that even short term activities should be of value. We're talking about quality here. On the flip side, some days, most days, a lot of days you were like that, but then on other days you're like this. You're the low vibration of that same energy. The ego drive to make an impression that will misuse energy in trivial pursuits. The drive to stimulate that will express any idea, no matter how trivial. You're learning about quality, wholeness, and balance. We're on gate 57, the gentle. Now, I do have gate 57. So let me pull up my chart. Right, gate 57, 5 on my personality side. Down there in Pluto, I see gate 57, 5 is exalted. Um, Gate 57, where is that at on the chart? Where is gate 57? I see it in the spleen. It's in the spleen center. Okay, okay. So 57.5, we'll read about it. First, we're going to read line 6. But in general, gate 55 is called the gentle. It's about intuitive clarity, the extraordinary power of clarity, right? Line 6, utilization. Uranus is exalted here, Mars is in detriment. The acceptance that clarity is a double edged sword. There are situations where understanding cannot lead to rectification. We're not going to solve this. It's not going to change nothing. We're not going to get any solutions out of this situation, even though we both understand what's going on. Or just I understand. You don't understand. Even with the understanding, I know that there is no rectification here. And with this gate and this line, you get an acceptance of that understanding. The acceptance that clarity is a double edged sword. Here, Uranus's innovative quality can generally make the best out of an otherwise difficult but rarely permanent situation. Where there is no answer, only the possibilities of the intuition can make the best out of a difficult situation. I like that. I like that. Sounds legit too. On the flip side, though, on some days when clarity points to a problem that one's unable because of circumstances to solve, a tendency to anger and frustration that provokes inevitable futile action, right? The possibility that when the intuition can't solve a problem, a tendency to frustration and anger. So some days you can accept it and you keep it going. You can make the best out of a difficult situation. On the other days, that clarity, knowing you can't solve the problem, can make you upset. Yeah, I can understand that. I can that resonates with me a little bit. I get it. Well, I do have gate 57, just not line 6, but I definitely get that. Hmm. Now, line 5, which is the line that I have in this gate, line 5, progression. Pluto is exalted here, the moon is in detriment. The natural ability to establish new forms while maintaining the powers of reevaluation and reexamination. Right? Here you have the natural ability to establish new forms while maintaining the powers of reevaluation and reexamination. This provides the clarity to determine the data, to examine the data, the clarity to examine the data and assess the process. So here you have the possible intuitive gift for evaluation, right? And it resonates. Absolutely. I was telling you earlier, hey, got a real eye for detail. This is not the gate and line I was talking about when it came to detail, because there's one that specifically talks about detail. But here is clarity. And it's a natural ability when it's exalted. Now, on the flip side, the lower vibration is ruled by the moon. It says the tendency to keep on keeping on that can end up as a misguided missile. A misguided missile, just going. When in action, the intuition may become overwhelmed and unable to assess and evaluate its progress. Yeah. So when it comes to progression, it can manifest itself in two different ways. Right? On one hand, you can definitely evaluate. You got clarity, you can examine the data, assess the process, pivot if need be, whatever needs to happen, you can do it. But on the other days, you're just having a hard time. You're overwhelmed and you're not able to assess and evaluate your progress. And you just keep going. And it could be a misguided missile. You could be wasting your energy completely. Right? I definitely understand this. There's been projects over the years that I dedicated myself to and it came to nothing. I just, on the last video, I told y'all I had that one gate where I just indulge in art for art's sake. So, either way, I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying my life. I'm making friends along the way. I'm definitely learning a lot of new things. And that is what I'm primarily interested in, right? I am a 1-3 emo solar plexus generator, right? Single definition. So, a lot of introspection. I'm having fun just doing the things that I do on my own. And that's my life. So, but I get it. I definitely, that energy, yes, I have this gate and this line. So same advice. As always, wholeness and balance, family. We're practicing wholeness and balance, right? Line 4, the director. Venus is exalted here, Mars is in detriment. The mastery of relationships that through clarity can maximize productivity while the sensitivity to interrelationships will ensure harmony. Nice. The possible intuitive clarity to master relationships. That's high vibrational energy. Harmony, working with all these different people, having a sensitivity to interrelationships with the inevitable conclusion of harmony being possible. That's what's up. Now, on the flip side, you have a tendency, given this position, to be dictatorial rather than directorial, right? Come on. You could be a director or a dictator. With the gift of clarity to master relationships, the possibility of being intuitively dictatorial. So there's the possibility there of you being a natural dictator. Because you do have this gift of clarity, right? It's in the spleen center. So the spleen center is our oldest awareness center. It's the survival of the fittest, or the, survival instincts. So, you got this natural gift of clarity. You could use it this way or that way. You could also practice wholeness and balance. Just throw that out there. You could practice wholeness and balance. Line 3, acuteness, the perfected intelligence, where clarity eliminates doubt and ensures manifestation. The possibility of perfected intuition, no polarity, possible. You could possibly have perfected intuition if you have this line in this gate. Wow. There is no planet in detriment. Mercury, the planet of communication, is, exalted here. You could have perfected intuition. And the clarity from this will eliminate all doubt and will ensure that you'll manifest whatever you want. Ain't that something? Isn't that amazing? Let's give you guys a round of applause. Amazing. It's amazing just to see it. What's it look like in action? Are you gate 57 line 3? You're my gate twin, but not my line twin. Um, do you have that? What's that like to live like that? Let me know. I'm interested in hearing about it. Line 2, cleansing, the clarity to establish proper values and ideals must be accompanied by a resolute determination, right, to maintain them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Venus is exalted here. The moon is in detriment. Perfected cleansing through inner realization. The possibility for proper values and ideals through intuition. Nice. The possibility. It's possible for proper values and ideals through your intuition. There's a perfected cleansing going on through inner realization if you have this line 2. Line 1, 2, and 3 are, part of the lower trigram. So it's more of an inner life that you're dealing with. You're not too much worried about, externalizing any of the knowledge or things that you've learned. You're really just, your main point of your life is just to know it for yourself. You need to internalize these things, and through that, your gifts manifest. You learn and know what to do. So here for you, there's the perfected cleansing that's going on through inner realization. Amazing. I love that for you. I love that for you. The moon is in detriment here. So sometimes there's a superficial cleansing that you indulge in, engage in, right? That tends to hide the dirt beneath or underneath the carpet, right? So here you have the possibility that the depth of the intuition will be treated superficially. That's how you'll treat it. And now you be like, sometimes I already know how you be talking. You be like, sometimes you be like, I don't know, why am I so serious? And sometimes you be like, I don't take nothing serious. You be like, I can't take nothing serious. You playing, and you know it. Some days you just do a superficial cleansing to hide it under the dirt, under the carpet. You know, it's cool. It's life, and enjoy it. I wish you well. I wish you well. Line 1 is called confusion. Mercury. I said Mercury. Venus is exalted here. The moon is in detriment. So here you have the gift of penetration, the gift of penetrating to the inner meaning that ensures timely action, the possibility of the intuition penetrating to the inner meaning is going to happen. This is in your spleen center. This gate is in your spleen center. That makes all the sense in the world now when you read about this, doesn't it? Now that we know about the spleen center and we know where this gate is located, aren't we like, yeah, I see that. I see that. And so these centers are chakra points. When you put a crystal on it, it doesn't activate every gate in that. Like if you were to take a crystal for your sacral, not the root, you're going to say your sacral or your solar plexus or something. I don't know. I don't know because this merges. It's a synthesis of the chakra center, the chakra systems, and the i-ching with the gates. But I'm thinking about crystals and putting crystals on your chakra centers. And I'm thinking about how it's multiple gates within each center. So what exactly is the crystal doing? It's just influencing the gate, the specific gate that it can influence, or how's that work? This is exciting because now we can get even more information on how crystals work. So I'm looking forward to somebody helping crack the code even more on that. They probably have, and I just haven't seen it. So I'll look it up. I'll look into it. But what else can we say about crystals in regards to human design? Since we have multiple gates, and the I Ching is saying this. So you have multiple gates in this chakra center. Now I take a citrine and I put it on my G center, right, for my heart or whatever. That's why I'm being thrown off because you have the heart wheel center over this way on the chart, and then you have the G center with the magnetic monopole. So which one do you use the heart chakra crystals on? You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. I would enjoy to have these kind of conversations. I like reality, and I like to get to the nitty gritty and just really kind of like I'm into the details, as you know, clarity and details, right? So I'm just being me. It excites me. You saw my eyes lit up though, right? It excites me. I like talking about it and learning about it. So there's that. So here in line one, and it's in the spleen center, you have the possibility of the intuition penetrating to to the inner meaning, because as we know, in this center, you're dealing with the most ancient center in your body. You're talking about the most cultivated survival instincts. So yes, it's possible that the intuition in this center could penetrate to the inner meaning. The inner meaning of what? You let us know. You let us know. The moon is in detriment here. So the moon in detriment, where feelings are no substitute for clarity, feelings are not clarity, and can lead to indecision if you're acting like they're clarity. You'll be the possibility that confusion will overpower the intuition. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Gate 58, the joyous vitality. Do I have gate 58? No, I have gate 59. I have that channel, gate 59 6 channel. So we'll talk about it when we get to gate 59. We're on gate 58, the joyous vitality. Stimulation is the stimulation is the key to joy, right? Yeah. Stimulation is the key to joy. Hey, are you listening? Stimulation. What stimulates you? Stimulation is the key to joy. Reading since I was a child, okay? Since I was 4, 5 years old, reading has always stimulated me. I can always take a moment to touch, taste, and feel joy because all I got to do is pick up a book. Now, my taste in books have changed over time. I don't get as stimulated reading certain books. Well, I read detective true crime books and mystery books, thrillers, and stuff like that. So Patricia Cornwell, James Patterson, Stephen King, or you know what I mean. I did read a few history books that was like very interesting to me. I didn't like history. I didn't start liking history until later on in my life, in my 30s, early 30s. But I did read some history books, thick history books, guns, steel, oil, gunpowder, very thick history books in my mid 20s, mid to late 20s. And I enjoyed those books. Now I'm into occultic books. I don't really feel like wasting my time. The other books, I feel like it's almost a waste of time. I don't completely believe in history. I feel like a lot of history is a lie, so it wouldn't even bring me joy to read it. And detective true crime books, I can still read that. I got my book for my summer reading, one book, Patricia Cornwell book, and I haven't read her books in like decades. So I got my summer reading for this summer if I want to take a break from occultic reading. But that's what stimulates me now. One of many things. I got plenty of things that I can reach in my toolkit that I know will bring me stimulation for me because I've been learning me. So learn you and fill your toolkit up. You need a toolkit out here. So learn you. Learn what stimulates you because stimulation, as we're reading here in Gate 58, the Joyous, vitality. Stimulation is the key to joy, right? Facts. Facts. So let's go. The moon is exalted. Line 6 is called carried away. I need some ice. Line 6, carried away. The tendency to practicality that, while thoroughly enjoying external stimulation, has the instinct to draw back when its independent integrity is threatened. That's what's up. The energy to fuel independent integrity that will maintain its identity in times of stimulation. Nice. Where is gate 58, guys? Do you know where gate 58 is? Leave it in the chat room. I'm going to have to pull this up. I got to pull up my chart. I need to show you guys my chart. Let's pull it up and see where is gate 58 on this chart. I don't have it. It's in the root center. It's down there in the bottom left of the root center. Gate 58. So we're dealing with adrenals, right? We're dealing with a motor. It's a motor. It's a reserve system, reserve excess energy that if you have to keep going, boom, you can utilize that energy. That's good information to know, ain't it? So, this gate that we're reading about, gate 58, it's in the root center, talking about joy, vitality. Line 6 is carried away. The moon is exalted. Mercury's in detriment. We just saw that in the high vibrational manifestation of this energy in you, you have the energy to fuel independent integrity that will maintain its identity, your identity in times of stimulation. You'll be able to maintain your identity in times of stimulation. This independent integrity that you got going on, right? And then on other days or once in a while, when its basic intelligence is effectively stimulated, its natural desire for attunement will lead it to identify so strongly with the stimulation that it's at risk of losing its identity. Mm. The energy which feels loss of identity in times of stimulation. The energy which feels loss of identity in times of stimulation. So you have that energy as well. A delicate balance. There's a thin line. Line 5, defense. The moon is exalted here, the sun is in detriment, right? The natural and practical instinct to protect oneself regardless of temptations. The fuel for self defense regardless of stimulations. Yeah, natural, practical instinct to protect yourself regardless of the temptations. I don't care about this lady in the red dress distracting me, like on the Matrix movie, right? Trying to distract me, the temptations. No, I'm gonna defend myself. Something is weird about this simulation. Um, the sun is in detriment here, so here you have the assumption that the best defense is a good offense that might allow strength of character to enjoy questionable stimulus without succumbing to it. The energy for aliveness, which forsakes self defense and will embrace questionable stimulations. Hmm. Yep. Taking behavior, questionable, situations. Just because you have this energy for aliveness. Yeah, you're alive till you're not. But that energy can't never be put out. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you in those moments you're just feeling it a lot. You know what I mean? But yes, there death is just transition. The energy doesn't die. So that's what's up. Have fun. Be careful. You got to be careful out there, okay? So be careful. Line 4, focusing. Pluto is exalted here, Neptune is in detriment. A natural specialization that, when confronted with a multiplicity of stimulations, will have no inner difficulty in focusing on the appropriate influence. So you can have a whole lot of options, but you won't let it all distract you. You'll be able to zoom in and focus on what's appropriate. The energy to feel recognition of which stimulation is of value. Facts. Mm-hmm. Focusing, line 4. That's Pluto exalted. A natural specialization. You can handle all this multiplicity. You don't have this inner difficulty. You're able to recognize which one is of value. That's what's up. Now, Neptune is in detriment here. So there's an impressionability that becomes confused when confronted with a multiplicity of stimulations, and in trying to accommodate all of it, becomes unstable. Energy which becomes unstable when overstimulated. Does it sound like anybody you know? Does it sound like your children? I like this. You got to definitely pull your chart, your children's chart, your parents' chart, your siblings' charts, your nieces and nephews, your aunties and uncles. I mean, you know what I mean? Maybe you don't have to go that far. But definitely get to know the people around you. Your best friend, come on. Get to know these people. Really know them. Now, maybe not tell them because some people could feel a type of way. Somebody could feel a type of way about you, maybe knowing them more than they know themselves. They could feel that way. Somebody could feel that way. So maybe keep it to yourself. And then when it's appropriate, right? Using your strategy and authority when it's appropriate, speak on these things to them. Drop a word, drop a bug in their ear, right? You know what I'm saying? Drop a clue. A little gold nugget. Help them out. Help them find the way. A little Hansel and Gretel breadcrumb. So I'm a life number 7, y'all. I'm about this life, this spiritual, mystical life. It's my life. In this life, I believe in many lives. So, anyway, I'm a life number 7 in this one. Line 4, focusing, we just read it. So now you know energy which becomes unstable when overstimulated. There's people out there that they can't handle it and they become unstable. There's probably a lot of people they're calling manic or bipolar that have this line. Okay, that's what I'm saying. I want more statistics. We need better focused data and statistics. How many people with bipolarism? What gates do a lot of these people have and lines that are bipolar? What can we do some kind of human design experiment? We need real I need some real surveys done and statistics collected so we can go through this data and really bring the people some real information that they could count on. Let's do that. Are you into Can you jump on board? Do you know anybody that can jump on board, a manifester that can assist with that? That's a real goal. That's a real goal. Send them here if you know them. Tell them I need some help. We need a few good men. Got a job, a project for you. Line 3, electricity. Uranus is exalted here. Mars is in detriment. The individual whose electric vitality creates its own stimulation and is not dependent on others. Wow. The energy to fuel independent stimulation. The quality of fire is dependent on its fuel and subject to its influence, good or bad. The energy for aliveness that is dependent on others for stimulation. So it's the this and that. We see the polarity. We see the polarity there. That was a very easy example to see. You either feel independent stimulation or you depend on others for stimulation. That's a low vibrational manifestation of that frequency, that energy. And if you're dependent on others, it's parasitic. So it's ego, parasite, all these words associated with lower vibrational energy, detriment. Okay, all these different words: ego, parasite, low vibrational. You know, of that energy. It's not the lowest of the low. It's just how far this particular frequency stretches, the bandwidth, if you will. Line 2, perversion. No polarity. There's no polarity here in perversion. We're talking about the joyous, the vitality. We're talking about stimulation. And there's no polarity on line 2, perversion. And it's ruled by Uranus. Let's read this. What does it say? Genius. I see genius came up again in regards to Uranus. Are y'all seeing this pattern? Is it just me that's seeing that every time they talk about Uranus, almost every time they bring up genius? Isn't that interesting? What does that mean? So it says a genius for perverse stimulation that afflicts oneself and others by promoting degeneracy and reducing joy to indulgence and decadence. Wow. No polarity because there's no exaltation here. Is only the detriment. Oh, wow. The energy which fuels the drive for perverse stimulation. And there's no exaltation, no high vibration of this perversion. Interesting. I'm just noticing. I'm just seeing. I'm just pointing out what I see. And now I'm also wondering how many rappers of today have this. Because I'm just an 80s baby. I'm sorry. I listen to my 60s, 70s music, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, you know what I'm saying? But past that, though there are a few, but they are perverse. They are reducing joy to indulgence and decadence. I'll listen to them once in a while, but for the most part, it's making me think of rappers and of course, these Epstein folks. Shh, we're not gonna talk about it. We're not talking about that right now. Not today. We're not gonna talk about it. So, wonder how many rappers have this gate in line. because they have a genius for perverse stimulation that afflicts oneself. They're afflicting themselves and others by promoting degeneracy and reducing joy to indulgence, and decadence. Does rapper come to mind for you? These new rappers? I don't even know what they're saying for the most part. Anyway, we're reading in the book club. I don't wholeness and balance, but there's no polarity there. There is no polarity there in line two perversion. So what do you do with that? If that's you, is that you? Are you here? Do you have that gate in that line perversion? Listen, I don't want to offend anybody. I'm not. I don't. Nothing I was saying was to offend anybody. We're just talking about what we see here, and trying to relate it to real life. We're thinking of reference points in our mind and our experience in life, and we're like, just pointing out reference points. It made me think of rappers, but you might not be a rapper, and you might be here listening, and it's like, hey, what's that life like? There's no polarity. There's no exaltation. There's a genius for your own stimulation, but it also afflicts yourself and others because, for the most part, it promotes degeneracy and it reduces joy to indulgence and decadence. But that's just one small part, at one small aspect of who you are, right? Obviously, you got a lot. We got a lot going on, a lot more going on in our body graph than gates and lines, right? A lot more. So, but if that is you, I want you to meet me in the CGH chat room. I want you to uh, I want you to show me, talk to me, tell me what that's like. Okay? So let's get that going, right? You know how to meet me there, right? I showed the video. I showed the video. This is how you meet me. You go to the Cedar Grove Herbs website. You just click on the CG's chat room, click on the dots to open up the different rooms, and there you'll find the Openly Occultic Book Club. I want you guys to meet me there. You can click that previously button that you'll see in the top left corner, and that'll show you the things that have been said previously by other people in the in the group. So it chatting in the chat room. So I want you to meet me there if this is you. And we'll go from there. It's a safe place for us to talk about it comfortably with people that understand this. You know, that's important. I think it's important. Line one, love of life. Venus is exalted here. The moon is in detriment, right? The very stimulation of the world is the basis of an aesthetic appreciation of its beauty and wonder. Just the very stimulation of the world alone, you find beauty in it. That stimulates you enough. The beauty of the world. This is Venus exalted, right? Keep that in mind. So, alone or shared with other, this profound inner realization is the key for a joyous harmony with the process of being, right? Just the stimulation of the world alone, the energy which fuels the love of life, the aesthetic appreciation of the world's beauty and wonder. Oh, I bet you love music too. I love music. It makes me appreciate the beauty of the world. My Venus is in Gemini, astrologically speaking, not human. I mean, human design too, but speaking natal charts and all that. I have my Sun is in Venus, and my Gemini. My wait, my Sun is in Gemini and my Venus is in Gemini. So, yeah. The moon is in detriment here. The moon has its phases, its moods that will limit joy to an intermittent and cyclical experience. So, here you have a cyclical energy, which is intermittently fueling the love of life. So it's not on all the time. It's cycles, mood swings, in a way, phases. Yeah, sounds about right. All right. Now we are on gate 59. Oh, wow. I be wanting to talk about gate 59. I hear a lot of people talking about gate 59 in the human design what's it called? In the human design Facebook groups that I'm in. I'm in a few of them. And they have a lot of discussions about this channel, this 59 uh 6 channel. It's connecting the sacral center to the solar plexus. It's a lot of talk. Now, as you see, I have gate 59 on both my design side and my personality side, and both of them in Jupiter. Both of them in Jupiter. Gate 59, line 3 in my DNA, genetically speaking. And on that side, these are things you're not even conscious of for the most part. It really kind of takes somebody outside of you to point it out within you. Did you know you're like this? And you'd be like, oh, I really didn't notice that. But now that you point it out, you're right. So you're not really conscious of the things on your design side. But I have gate 59, line 3 on my design side in Jupiter. And then on the personality side, I have gate 59, live 5, right? And you're conscious of that. So we're going to check it out. We're going to read it and I'm going to see if I'm conscious, if it resonates with me. Excuse me, consciously, if I can consciously see it in myself, right? I swear this human design, even when I read about read my natal chart and I read about my life number, the energy that comes along with my life number, it's like a whole mirror being held up to me. I was just like, wow, it blew my mind personally, you know? So we're reading Gate 59. It's about dispersion, sexuality, the ability to break down barriers to achieve union. Now, it says it's about sexuality, but it's really all encompassing. It's about creating in so many ways. It's about the bond thing, two things coming together to create this bond long enough for something new to be created out of it, right? That's about sexuality, right? Or coming together and propagation, right? Having a baby. Two are attracted, magnetically attracted to each other, or what have you. And together they create this third thing. But it doesn't have to just be reduced to um it doesn't have to just be reduced to let me talk to you guys while I'm discussing this. Let me look at you while we discuss this. Because it doesn't have to just be reduced to heterosexual couples and making babies. We could talk about the bond that happens between platonic people or business partners, a bond that attracts them to each other to create this new thing, an idea, a business, whatever the case may be. So we're not necessarily talking about heterosexual relationships. We're not necessarily talking about the creation of another human, right? We can apply this information about Gay 59, the ability to break down barriers to achieve union. We can apply this outside of sex. But there is a sexuality or a sexual or some kind of magnetism in some kind of way. They're labeling it sexuality. But if you think about your best friend, you're not sexually attracted to them, but there is an attraction. So it's a magnetism. So they're calling it sexuality, but these not all unions involve sex. So they're just labeling this word magnetism or attractiveness, if you will, the bond that has to be connected to create the union. They're labeling it sexuality. I just want to say that. Does that make sense to you guys? Does it sound right? Does it sound right to you? Mm. We're here on the last episode of the Definitive Book of Human Design. We're reading here in the book club, right? And we're reading the Definitive Book of Human Design. I am looking forward to the next book that we're going to read. So make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Click the notification bell so that you can also listen in on the next book. I think if you listen to the end of this stream, I'll give you a hint on what the topic is or who all would actually be interested in hearing or reading this new book. So I want you to make sure that you tune in, do what you got to do to make sure you don't forget that we got this information going on here at the Openly Occultic Book Club, right? Talking about some things we don't normally talk about, but it's hidden information. Well, it's been hidden, but we're in the age of Aquarius, and we're shedding light on the secrets, right? So hopefully you understood the explanation I was giving about Gate 59 and dispersion and sexuality, and how this word sexuality is really kind of covering in so many words, so many ways, the real understanding or the real word that we would better use to explain what this process is. And the word would be magnetism, right? Attractiveness, attraction, dispersion, sexuality, dispersion, attraction, right? The ability to break down barriers to achieve union, okay? And all unions aren't heterosexual or sexual in nature. Some unions are business partners, ideas, whole revolutions, whole governments, whole movements, whole countries, whole nations. So we're not just talking about the union of a man and a woman to create a baby. Line 6 is called the one night stand. The tendency, based on personality or circumstances, to accept only temporary unions that may be otherwise impossible or dangerous to continue. Okay. Venus is exalted here, Mercury is in detriment. The perfected relationship, whether for a moment or an eternity. The power for intimacy, regardless of conditions. Wow. Right? But, and that's the high vibrational. That's the high vibration of this line. The high frequency, the perfected relationship, whether for a moment or an eternity. The power for intimacy, regardless of conditions. On the flip side of that energy, and it's ruled by Mercury, the basic drive to move on that seeks impermanency as a matter of course and not in response to circumstances. So here you have once in a while the drive for sexual and intimate diversity, a need, a basic drive to keep it moving, to move on. You don't want you're here for a good time, not a long time. And it's not due to circumstances. It's not in response to circumstances. It's just a matter of course. This is just how you live. This is just how you are. You know what I mean? So you have that. You have you're high vibrational. You have it in you, the power for intimacy regardless of conditions, the perfected relationship, whether for a moment or an eternity. But you also, and now we know, they call this the one night stand. We don't have to talk about this in terms of sex. Like we said, you could be an entrepreneur, someone who has just all kind of ideas, investor, and you just move on from one to the next because you just, you know what I mean? You have this desire for this diversity. In these unions, you're making transactional unions. You're linking this and that. You're networking. You just got to keep it going. You just always on the move. You know what I mean? So I see it. I see it. Now we're on line 5, and that's my line, right? On my personality side, I had gate 59, line 5 on my personality side that I'm conscious of, right? So let's see what that says. The femme fatale or Casanova, right? The sun is exalted here. Uranus is in detriment. Here you have the power to use love to break down any barrier. That's funny because my incarnation cross is the vessel of love too. So I have this as well. Okay, and we're talking about sexuality, the ability to break down barriers, right? We're in the 59th gate. The ability to break down barriers to achieve union, the power to use love to break down any barrier. Given the sun's lightness, there is no negative connotation inherent in this description. Wow. Wow. The power of sexuality to attract others. Yeah. Yeah. And then on the flip side, well, I've noticed it over time, that that happens, you know. And in fact, reading about this and knowing these things, it made me want to go ahead and because I've been making videos on YouTube for over a decade, but I never really show my face. So I said, let me go ahead and do my human design experiment. Allegedly, I got this magnetism, this energy about me, this frequency. So let me use it to draw more people into because my primary goal is always education here, right? We got to be educated so that we can start to see the benefit, the need, and really the reality of living a holistic lifestyle, learning occultic, learning about energy work. A lot of education. A lot of people don't know about this stuff, and it's not talked about all the time. So I said, let me use my energy, and this is using the power of love, right? Let me use my sexuality to do this loving act for humanity and the conscious collective. It's the age of Aquarius. Let's shine a light on these things. It involves loving yourself, learning yourself, and having a higher quality of life. Once you learn about the tools at your disposal, what's wrong with that? Right? What's wrong with that? So, using it, learning and use part of the experiment, learning about this energy that I have, and then trying to use it in its own way to further the mission, right? Let me know how I'm doing. But on the flip side, it says Uranus in detriment, where the negative potential of this power becomes evident. The giggle think. My sugar was getting low, so that's why I'm eating my candy, my Reese's Pieces. Anyway, um, so yeah, there's that. Yeah, I'm conscious of it. Line 4, brotherhood, sisterhood. Venus is exalted here, Mercury's in detriment. The dropping of barriers to union to establish a universal union. The power derived from non sexual intimacy. Okay, that's line 4. All right. Um, on the flip side of that, you have an intellectual understanding that's rarely put into action. So, this is where the idea can't restrain the sex drive. Can't restrain their sex drive, so now you're having sex with all your brethren. We've heard of many conscious community leaders. I wonder how many of them have that gate in that line, actually. Conscious community leaders. So we've definitely heard a lot of them over the years. And they clearly have this, right? On one hand, they're obviously dropping barriers to union to establish a universal union. These are conscious creators, the conscious community, right? Leaders within that. And they're exhibiting power derived from non-sexual intimacy. But also they having sex with their people. Having a hard time restraining the sex drive. So now we know. What do you have thoughts on that? Do you have thoughts on anything I just said about Gate 59, line 4? Leave it in the comments or meet me in the CGH chat room, the Openly Occultic Book Club chat room. Let's talk about it. Away from prying eyes, right? Line 3 is called openness. Saturn is exalted here. Mars is in detriment. Saturn exalted, where the search for identity and security can only be achieved through the dropping of barriers in order to define oneself through union. So here, one is empowered through union and intimacy with others, right? They're able to define themselves through the union. So they got to drop the barriers in order to get the union. And then once the union is there, now they're being empowered. They're defining themselves. They're finding their identity. They're reaching their security, right? Getting security. I understand that. This is Saturn exalted, right? Okay. Now, on the flip side, it says where openness is transformed into promiscuity and its attending problems, right? Where the drive for empowerment through union and intimacy can lead to promiscuity. Come on. Okay. Sounds about right. I can see the this and that of that energy. Can you? Can you see the this and that of that? Line 2 is shyness, self imposed barriers. Hold on, because I have that 59 line 3. That was talking about me. Damn, bro. Damn. Line 3, openness, right? So everything we just read in line 3, where the drive for empowerment through union and intimacy can lead to promiscuity, or that's low vibrational, but on the high vibrational part, where one is empowered through union and intimacy with others, that's my life. Now, this is in my design side, so I'm not conscious, not always, or hardly was conscious of this information. Reading this, now I know, or other people pointing out to me. Let me think. What has anybody said to me in regards to this? I don't know. There's some people that always kind of end up sleeping with their coworkers, or like actors and actresses. They're on a project working on a movie and they end up sleeping with each other and what have you. So, over the years, I've gotten crushes or um, that openness would lead me to want, if just having a crush on my research partner. We're researching together, we're into the same things, we're actually living for this stuff. This actually brings us joy and stimulation. Why don't we also stimulate each other? So it hasn't always worked out, or the connection isn't always made, but I do notice that about me, and I saw it actually, or somebody pointed it. I think my sister might have said something to me um, about that. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. But I only just now heard about human design, maybe, 4 years ago. So when it comes to that, that's different. Reading it and seeing it, that was kind of different. You know what I mean? Because now I can see it's an openness. The goal, obviously, and which is what I always knew, the goal is just for us to be united. I think that might be one of the reasons why I was drawn to Stephen King's It. Now, this is true story. This is true to life. Because I read that book every October when I was young, from about maybe 11, 12 years old till about 18, 19 years of age. Every October, I would read this thick ass Stephen King, Pennywise, It book. And I just really, really liked the movie. I like the idea of the union in this movie. They had to unite to fight against the monster. these kids were having it the worst. They were experiencing and seeing all kind of stuff, and nobody would believe them. You know what I mean? So they had to unite, and to unite, they had to drop barriers. We always have to, before we can't just make friends with any stranger. You got to work it out. You know what I'm saying? Got to drop some barriers. So I was always, and I'm not just drawn to that book, but that ideal, because I love the stand. And it's really the same concept. A bunch of people uniting to go fight, Flag, the bad guy, the devil. So I was always drawn to those type of movies and books. I remember I would read a Dark Sword trilogy. It was a sci-fi book that I read in like junior high, 8th or ninth grade, and I read that multiple times. And it was called the Dark Sword trilogy, and it was a trilogy, and it was really thick as well. And I read that, and just the uniting around a common goal, and not just any common goal, because I could just join a gang if that's the case, right? I've never joined a gang, you know, uniting over high vibrational goals, collective humanitarian, you know what I mean? So when I read about human design, I just really, I know me. I'm 45, so I've been learned myself over time, but to read it and put words to it, it was holding up a mirror to me and I saw myself in it. So I do get it. You know what I mean? The main thing is about uniting. And that's why we said that we're in Gate 59. The ability to break down barriers to achieve union. The main thing is uniting, right? But there's an openness that has to be carefully navigated to unite. And you can use all tools at your disposal, right? And I'm not opposed to using. I'm just the way I'm built. I do have 59 and 6. So, I'm grown as hell. You know what I mean? So, you can have sexual or not or platonic type situations that still have a little bit of sexuality mixed in them. I've learned that over time to use sexuality. So yes, this is talking about me. I've learned to use sexuality to add fuel to the union, to reach the goal, to complete the mission. We're not going to be all united over here, all in this room, making some plan for some revolution or to change society in a way for the better, and we don't even like each other. We don't like talking to each other. We don't like each other. We got to make it fun, stimulating. We got to make it fun or break down barriers by any means necessary. So if I got to talk to the nerd, I'll talk to the nerd in his language. If it's the Christian, I'll talk to them in their language. You know what I mean? If it's a hoe in the room, I'll talk to her in that whole language. I know she get it. You know what I mean? So it's just like but I'm a Gemini. So I have the gift for conversation. It comes easily. I'm a chameleon. I can talk and move around in many different circles. So, that's my life. And that's part of it here. That's why we're here today. This is why you've been here with me and subscribe to this channel, because I'm being my authentic self. I'm being transparent and I'm telling you about life. And I hope sharing myself with you, right? Dropping of these barriers helps us form a bond, a union. We might not ever meet each other or talk to each other in life. But this video and these videos are on YouTube, so I got to keep that in mind, right? They're always going to be here. In the future, other people will be watching this and they will unite with me. You know what I mean? They'll unite with us. And the uniting is not unite with my crew. That's not what we're talking about. We want to unite into an understanding of reality, the universe, wholeness and balance, right? We're uniting into an understanding. So I have to open myself up and drop barriers so that you can see I'm just a regular schmegular, normal ass person. You know what I mean? Who's technologically inept, because I got a degree in radio and TV broadcasting. So I'm able to make this fun, aesthetically pleasing, visually, audibly, and we can just go ahead and get real to it. We can get down and we can talk about these things, so that you can Join the conscious collective. Join the collective for humanity. Love. Join the tribe of love. You know what I mean? So I hope I explained that right. And if you like if you like my musings, hearing my musings, go ahead and drop a like for us, right? If you like hearing my musings, give it to me, give it to me. Anyway, so now, yeah, because that was me for sure. And I understand the method behind my madness, but I could see how it could lead someone to think, promiscuity or this thing. You know what I'm saying? I could think how it could lead someone to that. But I assure you, everybody I'm seeing with is not somebody I'm sleeping with. So let's start there. You know what I mean? But anyway, because it don't matter about my sexuality or my sex. So it don't matter. Line 2, shyness. Self-imposed barriers. Uranus is exalted here. Pluto is in detriment. A preferred and natural separateness that protects against the inevitable instability engendered by union. A preferred and natural separateness that protects against the inevitable instability that comes about by union, right? The restriction of the sex drive to maintain separateness. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then on the flip side, there's a calculated shyness rooted in deep psychological barriers that even in dynamic individuals will always restrict interaction. So there's infertility for both. One is the restriction of the sex drive to maintain separateness. On the flip side, in the lower vibrationally, there's infertility here that's rooted psychologically or biologically that conditions for this drive for separateness. Okay? Self imposed barriers. It manifests itself in one of two extreme ways. And then, of course, anything else in between. Yeah. Line 1 is called the preemptive strike. The authority and vitality that in understanding purpose and direction can recognize and eliminate barriers before they become impregnable. The power of fertility to impregnate, you know, that's sun, the sun being exalted. And then you have Mercury in detriment. In this position, the ability and intelligence to recognize, right? You have this ability and intelligence to recognize, but there's a deep indecisiveness about how and when to act. The potential of fertility limited by uncertainty. Yeah. So the potential is there, but it's limited because of this deep indecisiveness, this uncertainty you got going on. Sometimes wholeness and balance, right? We're at gate 60. We're going to gate 64. If you've been here with me all this time, thank you so much for being here with me. I appreciate all your likes, your comments, your subscribing. My subscribers are going up. That's why we're doing it live now, right? I said once we get to 50 subscribers, we're gonna go live, and that's what I intend to do. And now we're reading the book club, and I'm gonna read a new book in the next few days. We got a new book. We're done with human design after this, so we're on gate 60. It's called limitation, acceptance. The acceptance of limitation is the first step in transcendence. Line 6, rigidity. Uranus is exalted here, Mercury is in detriment. The intuitive intellect to recognize when absolute rigidity is essential, but with innovative applications to lessen its severity. Nice. High vibrational, learning how to maneuver to cause no harm, right? I don't want to offend nobody, but got to do it. A fixed energy that is unusual in its capacity for restraint. And then at other times, there's the dogmatic, principled, and carefully reasoned understanding that is uncompromising in its severity and often coldly brutal in operation, and uncompromising in severe acceptance of restraint. So uncompromising that the restraint may become unbearable and lead to chronic depression. Hmm. Hmm. It's got to be tough, huh? You're very, very hard on yourself. It sounds like a bunch of Virgo energy to me. It's very hard on yourself. I would know. I'm a Virgo moon. And I got a stellium of Virgo in my second house. My Mars is in Virgo. My Saturn is in Virgo. My Jupiter, my moon. My Jupiter's in my first house. It's in Virgo. And it's close to the other ones, but it's in the first house. And, so I know about that Virgo energy, that overthinking, that being hard on yourself, your own worst critic. But hey, that's me. Line 5, leadership. Neptune is exalted, Jupiter is in detriment. The awareness that the destruction of the old limitations simply creates new ones. This results in behavior patterns that demonstrate this understanding through actions and enhances leadership potential. So here you have the energy to handle a lifelong process of dealing with limitations. You have the awareness that the destruction of the old limitations only creates new ones. So you just know that limitations going to always exist. You just already have that awareness. It's not going to shock you to know that. You know it. This results in behavioral patterns that demonstrates that you know it through your actions. And that enhances your leadership potential. Good for you. I love that for you. I love it. You're aware that, it's just, hey, we're only human. There are limitations. We're in a 3D earth. We're locked in time here. But time, come on now. So you're aware of that. That's what's up. But then sometimes, because the flip side of that same energy, sometimes you have the natural desire for expansion and you need, and here limitations are essential and it creates confusion from the top. Where the natural desire for expansion, when limitations are essential, creates confusion from the top. Here you need to be limited, but you want to expand. Expansive energy that can't handle limitations. Make sure you swing by cedargroveherbs.com. There's herbs and crystals and all kinds of other tools, metaphysical tools. There's books. There's all kind of stuff that you can use, right? Put in your toolbox to use when you're feeling restless, anxious, for sure. You can handle that energy. There's teas you can make, tinctures you can take, all kind of stuff. Line 4 is resourcefulness. Mercury is exalted here, Venus is in detriment. The reasoned and intelligent maximization of potential within limitations. The maximization of potential within these limitations. Yes, resourcefulness, yes. And then sometimes a tendency in times of limitation to seek the inner meaning of the restriction rather than using its gifts to find a harmonic application within the limitation. The former leads to withdrawal, and the latter, finding a harmonic acceptance, a harmonic application within the limitations, that leads to transcendence. The energy to know rather than accept limitation at the expense of possible mutation, leading to depression. So now you know, and uh, make sure you practice wholeness and balance. I think that's the key. I think that's some legit advice to give somebody. Wholeness and balance. You know what I mean? Wholeness just means acknowledging the this and that you got going on within you. You got the dark and the light within you too. You are the dark and the light. That's wholeness. But you also want to balance. Line 3, conservatism. Saturn is exalted, Venus, Mars is in detriment. Enlightened self interest that naturally handles restrictions and limitations, ensuring identity and security. So here you have the energy to maintain identity and security despite limitations. Do I have gate 60? No, I don't have any other gates in this video until we get to 62. That's my last gate for this video. So when we get to gate 62, I'll read all about it. But for now, we're in gate 60. We're reading line 3. Energy, we're talking about the detriment, or hold on. Enlightened self-interest that naturally handles restrictions and limitations, ensuring identity and security. The energy to maintain identity and security despite limitations. Right. And then on the flip side, ego gratifying self interest that ignores limitations and suffers predictably. Energy which ignores limitations and pays the price. So there's the this and that. There's polarity in all things. Line 2, decisiveness. Saturn is exalted here, the earth is in detriment. The understanding of the nature of limitations to accept its restraints when necessary, and thus be able to take advantage of opportunities when they arise. Nice. Energy which can adapt to restraint. Nice. You can make a decision. You understand the nature of limitations, you accept it, and when you need to, you take advantage of opportunities, you can make a decision based on your understanding. Yes. And then sometimes, though, with that same energy, it's coming from that same, it just has to manifest, it can manifest in two different ways. It can be this and that. You can go about it this way or that way, high vibrational or low vibrational, if you will. Now, when it comes to the low vibrational, ruled by Earth, an adaptation to restraint that becomes habitual and maintains the nature of the limitation even when it no longer exists. The energy for adaptation that can get stuck without eventual mutation. That sounds like the institutionalized prisoners, right? They're not in prison no more, but they still living like they still in prison. An adaptation to restraint that becomes habitual and maintains the nature of the limitation, even when it no longer exists. You're not in jail no more, bro. You's free now. Hey, hey. It's more than prisoners acting like they're not free. Mm. Line 1, acceptance. Venus is exalted, Mercury is in detriment. The ability to maintain inner harmony when confronted by external limitations. Harmonic energy that can deal with external limitations. Okay, okay. The drive for diversity that, when limited, can become restless and agitated. Restless energy when confronted with external limitations. Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Is that you? Do you have gate 60 line 1? You get restless and agitated when you want diversity, but you're being limited externally, you know? Let me know in the comments. Wow, we've had about 6 viewers today while we're doing this live. I know we'll get more viewers after the fact, but while live, we've had about 6 viewers come and go. I'm glad they dropped in. Thank you so much for hollering at me, coming through, checking in, seeing what we talking about. We'll be on to another book in just a minute. The next video, we're going to be talking about, we're going to swing to the other pole, if you will. We're going to go to another side, I think we're gonna read a book that Christians can read. If you're still part of the Abrahamic religions, if you're still in Christianity or Islam, we're gonna read a book showing how things in the Bible, the Old Testament, and all that are talking about how the body works, energy, Kundalini energy, astrology. Once again, things like that. You'll be surprised that this information is even thought of or even out there, because you just go to church every day, or you just listen to the pastor and they're teaching their narrative. You'd be shocked that there's others that have a different narrative. Their minds are not in a box. They've been thinking outside the box, And they're seeing something else unfold in this Bible, right? They're saying there's levels, there's layers to this Bible. It's coded. And occultic writings say that this book, well, the book we're going to read, say that that Bible is talking about how the body works. So we're still in energy work, and we're still learning self-love. We're learning about the body. We have bodies. We're in a body. We need to learn to love it, right? So we can have a higher quality of life. We're going to read that next. Right now, we're almost to the end of the Human Design book, and we're in Gate 61, Inner Truth, Mystery, the awareness of universal underlying principles. Yes, the awareness of universal underlying principles. Nice. Line 6, appeal. Pluto's exalted here, Mars is in detriment. The profound attunement to the collectivity that can lure the public to a truth. Inspiration that can bring clarity to the collective. Wow. Or a reliance on shop worn cliches and slogans that may be new in their level of energy, but inevitably fall on deaf ears. The delusion that inspiration can bring clarity to the collective? Sometimes. But sometimes they don't want to hear it. There's no shock here, no big surprise. It's the this and that of it. Line 5, influence. Saturn is exalted here. Mars is in detriment. The enlightened father figure whose recognized wisdom and powerful assertion can mold a generation by its influence. The pressure to know that may result in influence and wisdom. So you can get influence this way too. We read another one about influence. Got to keep it a secret for that other one about your relationships. But on this one, the enlightened father figure whose recognized wisdom and powerful assertion can mold a generation by its influence. The pressure to know that may result in influence and wisdom. And so gate 61 is in the head center. Gate 61 is in the head center. So yeah, they can get wisdom, all kind of stuff, right? Influence and wisdom, because they have this pressure to know things. They're using their mind. On the flip side, and Mars is ruling the detriment. On the flip side, they have a tendency in power to want to enforce compliance to ensure lasting influence. The pressure in knowing to resent challenges and demand acceptance. Low vibrational. So when you see yourself slipping into that, just know you're embodying the low vibration of your gate 61 line 5. Right? Now we got words that we can use to explain exactly what you got going on today. What's going on with you, friend? Looks like you over here embodying the low vibration of your gate 61 line 5. Who can I talk to like this? Will understand what I'm talking about. Line 4, research. Saturn is exalted here. Jupiter's in detriment. Right? The capacity of concentration to explore the depths of inner truth and maximize its application to fundamental principles. The pressure to know the fundamental principles. Yes. On the flip side, right, where the tendency to expansion and integration leads to involving others in the research and may end in a diversity of confusing applications. Mm. The illusion that collaboration will enhance inspiration. It's an illusion. It's an illusion. But that's good to know, right? This is good information to know because now you know. Yeah. Line 3, interdependence. It is exceedingly difficult for truth to stand alone. The moon is exalted, the Mars is in detriment. The ability to establish relationships for the actualization of truths and through their nurturing and protective power to ensure a stable environment in which they can continue to grow. Yeah. The pressure to know enhanced through collaboration. Yes. You know, because we're all individuals, but we're into wholeness. You know what I mean? Yeah, we're individual, but we got to learn to work together. You know what I mean? Collaborate. So that's what's up. On the flip side, that same person can embody the lower vibrational energy of this line 3. So there is an abundance of energy. This person has an abundance of energy and they're in possession of a truth. And then they have the tendency to leave others behind or be crushed by their resistance. So, impatience with others and the forsaking of relationships. So, you can either have the pressure to know enhanced through collaboration, or you'll be impatient with others and forsake relationships because you know so much or you know something, right? And hey, mm-hmm, we see it. Line 2, natural brilliance. The moon exalted and so gifted by this position a far reaching, a nourishing influence. Excuse me. The moon exalted and so gifted by this position a far reaching, a nourishing influence, free of guile and powerfully attractive. Magnetism. Very powerful magnet here. A gift for inspiration that is both attractive and beneficial to others. A natural brilliance. Yes. And then on the flip side, that in early recognition of its influence, because they can realize over time, they recognize it early that this is a powerful, attractive magnet. You know what I mean? They realize it is a powerful energy here, magnetic. So, in early recognition of its influence, becomes ego obsessed with maximizing its effects, a delusion that any inspiration deserves recognition. Hey, not my words. We're just reading it. We see it. I see that. Line 1, occult knowledge. Come on. We're in the openly occultic book club. Line 1, occult knowledge. Neptune is exalted here. Venus is in detriment. A natural psychic awareness that empowers principles of universalization. Yes, the pressure to know the mysteries through esoterics. That's us. You're here. That's what we're doing. Now, some days you have a reliance on secret knowledge. This reliance on secret knowledge increasingly demands aesthetic withdrawal and leads eventually to obscurity, right? Where the pressure to know the mysteries can be so strong that one can be eventually incapable of handling esoteric realities. You learn so much so fast, you're not able to process it. It's just too much. It's like light and day, night and day. Society is saying this, but the hidden occultic esoteric truths, nobody's talking about it or living like this. And you could just be just upset. It could be anger you, it could just stress you out. You just can't handle it. Can't handle the realities of this. You know or you just keep digging. You want to know so bad, you just keep digging, and you're digging in too deep too fast, and you can't handle the things that you're learning, and it leads to withdrawal and maybe even obscurity. Yeah, I can identify with that. I don't have that gate, but I can identify with it. I have gate 62 though. I have gate 62, and I have it in line 2. So when we get there, we'll get to that. I have gate 62 on my personality side, line 2 in Mercury. Now, gate 62 is located in the throat center. This is in the throat center. I have an open throat center, but I do have defined gates within my open throat center. So, keep that in mind. But yeah, this is in the throat center. Okay. So we'll get back to the book. Gate 62. The preponderance of the small details. See, this is what I was talking about before when I started almost 3 hours ago, when I was telling you I got an eye for details. And I have this gate 62, line 2. Yes, the preponderance of the small details. Caution, patience, and detail produce excellence out of limitation. Caution, patience, and detail produce excellence out of limitation. Okay. Line 6, self discipline. Saturn is exalted here. Mercury is in detriment. A penny saved is a penny earned. Detail as the path to material success. The understanding that material success depends on the expression of detail. Yes. And then on the flip side, the skills, but not the discipline to succeed. The gift for, but not the discipline to do the necessary detail work to succeed. Right? So there's that. We have line 5, metamorphosis. When excellence is achieved, action is necessary. The moon is exalted here. Neptune is in detriment. The reaching out to others to share, symbolized by the moon's phases as it moves from darkness to eventually sharing fully its light. Yes, the understanding that only when the details are complete can action or expression be initiated. Okay, okay. The reaching out to others to share, which is symbolized by the moon's phases as it moves from darkness to eventually sharing fully its light, right? Yes, metamorphosis. On the flip side, a tendency in metamorphosis to seek acclaim through dramatic presentation. When the details are organized, the need for attention demands expression. Sometimes it's dramatic, right? Drama. Drama. Okay, ma'am. And the Academy Award goes to. No, I'm just messing with you. I like to laugh, guys. I have a sense of humor. I laugh. I laugh all day. Sometimes at the irony of it all. And sometimes I'll be laughing at myself. I just got jokes, bro. So if you're gate 62, line 5, you have that line. Let us know in the comments, right? Hugs to you. I wasn't messing with you. I'm not picking at you. So virtual hugs from me to you. And give me a heart if you have this gate. Let's talk about it. This line within this gate. Line 4 is called aestheticism, right? Aestheticism. Here, Venus is exalted, Pluto is in detriment. The prophetic aesthetic withdrawal in the pursuit of harmony and simplicity, where outside dangers don't exist and there is time to pursue inner meaning in detail, right? Detail that can only be expressed after periods of isolation and reflection. Okay. Okay. The urge to take action, this is the flip side. The urge to take action against established values that, when restrained by circumstances, leads to withdrawal that waits for opportunity. You just wait back. You just say, I'll fall back. Well, I'll be back though. I'll be back. Just give me some time. I'm just wait for the opportunity. Where the detail is organized, isolation as a strategy, waiting for the right opportunity for expression. Hey, it's the lower vibration of the two, but I don't see nothing wrong with it. I think it's smart. But okay. Line 3, discovery. Uranus is exalted here, and once again, this word genius, right? And Venus is in detriment. A genius for the unusual. The ability to discover valuable information in detail work and to find innovative applications for this knowledge. Yes. The unusual gift of finding and expressing valuable details. Nice. That's gate 62, line 3. That's gate 62, line 3. That's what's up. On the flip side, a dissatisfaction with the monotony of detail work, where what is missed may be of great importance and value. So now you're just rushing because you're not even having fun. The expression of dissatisfaction and boredom in detail work. Put it down. You're bored today. Walk away. Go do something else. Let's go play the guitar. Practice the guitar. Right? Let's go do a puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle. Let's just walk away. It's not the day today. Right? Wholeness and balance. You got to sit there and just keep getting more and more frustrated. You're missing out on all the great important details and the stuff that you need. You skipping and missing it because you're bored and you don't want to be here. You ain't got to be here. You do not have to be here. It's your world. It's your movie. You're the star of your show. Line 2, restraint. Saturn is exalted, Mercury is in detriment. The innate restrictiveness and discipline to comply with and exalt restraint. The discipline necessary for detail work. Okay. The intellect, stymied by severe restrictions, tends to anxiety and restlessness. The expression of anxiety and restlessness when faced with detail work. This is my line, guys. Gig 62, line 2, restraint. So, on one hand, I have the discipline necessary for detail work, right? Just an innate restrictiveness and discipline to comply with and exalt restraint. But then on the other day, or on other days, or sometimes at other times, my intellect is stymied by severe restraints, right? Restrictions and stuff. And it can lead to anxiety and restlessness. The expression of anxiety and restlessness when faced with detail work. And I know that is absolutely me. And that's on my personality side. So I'm very well aware of this, right? I am very well aware of this. Okay, line 1, routine. The ability to transcend the boredom of routine through a rich and daring fantasy life. The ability to organize the detail through fantasy. Okay. And then on the flip side, rebellion and its enormous waste of energy. Here you have the need for expression, which ignores the details. Okay. All right. Because it's a gift to be able to see details. Not everybody can do it. When I look around and see who can, hey, not everybody can do it. And that's not for them to do. It's for you to do. They don't have the gift, you have it. So, interesting stuff though, right? Don't you like hearing about this stuff? I enjoy it. I enjoy hearing about this stuff, putting a word to these things. I like that. We're on gate 63. After completion, doubt. In the spiral of life, all ends are beginnings. Facts. Line 6, nostalgia. Jupiter is exalted, Pluto is in detriment. The good sense to avoid turning the previous struggle into an obsession. The logic of leaving old doubts behind. Yes, necessary. High vibrational, obviously. Absolutely. On the flip side, there, or the this and that of it, is revolutionary nostalgia, right? Illogical and the potential obsession with old suspicions and doubt. Revolutionary nostalgia. You gotta get about that low vibration. If you've cracked the case, or you still try to crack the case, I don't know. You know, but it's definitely an obsession. Either way, either way. Line 5, affirmation. The sun is exalted here. Mars is in detriment. The authority and sincerity of purpose to pursue the same values in the new beginning that had allowed it to transcend the old. Interesting. On the flip side, a tendency in triumph to pay lip service to such values. And given such leadership, these values will be reduced to nothing more than empty rituals, doubting one's very process despite understanding. So you can have the understanding of something and still doubt it or not do nothing with it. Ain't that something we see it in real life? We see it. Like it seems like you understand what I'm saying, but you're not really understanding. You're not acting like you understand. But I know you understand. You do understand. It's crazy. It's not crazy. It's life. It's all the different manifestations of energy. There's all kinds of there's all kinds of potential of possibilities. So infinite, infinite, right? I mean, we're talking about gate 63 in the spiral of life. All ends are beginnings. So infinite possibilities. It never stops. So that's line 5, gate 63. Line 4 is called memory. Mercury is exalted here. Mars is in detriment. The detailed accounting of the achievement process, whose information base can prepare a new order for the future, right? The pressure to explore the doubt in detail as a foundation for eventual formalizing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Detailed accounting, memory of the achievement process, whose information base can prepare a new order for the future. Absolutely. Gate 63 is in the head center, same as gate 64. They're in the head center. On the flip side of that energy, you have a willingness to forget in the glow of victory with a possible price to be paid later. The pressure and risk to forget the details when the doubts have been answered. That's your choice. This willingness to forget. Mm. No, we were told if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. We're not gonna forget. If you forget your history, you're doomed to repeat it, right? That's the saying, right? Children, kids, come on. Don't forget. History does have its place because you don't want to. Hey, we see it. We see it. Line 3, continuance. Jupiter is exalted. Saturn is in detriment here. The dedication to the new beginning that insists on maintaining its achieved principles despite having to interact with those who have not attained such a state. Doubts that one can maintain one's principle when interacting with others. Or success at any price. The pressure to eliminate the doubt at any cost. So there you that's that too, huh? Okay. Okay. Line 2, structuring. Jupiter is exalted, Uranus is in detriment. The establishing of a large framework through which achievement can be expanded and shared, compensating others for their contributions while maintaining control of direction. Absolutely. Yes, the pressure to share one's doubts with others while still maintaining control. Absolutely. High vibrational. Now, on the flip side, the detrimental side, the lower vibrational of this line 2 energy is instability in achievement that, when in positions of authority, leads to arrogance and the desire to keep others away from the center of power. So now here you have doubts in achievement that can lead to suspicion of others. And you just now you want to keep them away from taking over because you don't know if you wonder they could probably do a better job than you. You want to keep them away from it all. Right? You're doubting yourself and your own achievements. Instability in achievement. There's achievement there. But now you're in a position of authority and it leads to arrogance and the desire to keep others away from the center of power. All these low vibrational things are centered in the ego. Now, we've read a few high vibrational sections and it brought ego up too. And that's because the high vibrational is a low vibrational ego problem for the next level up. You feel me? It's high vibrational here, But on the next level up, it's going to be the densest, the lowest vibration there. You understand what I'm saying? Come on. Come on, openly occultic book club. Let's go. You feel what I'm saying? You picking up what I'm putting down? Open your mind. Huh. Open your mind. So yeah, absolutely. Line one is called composure. The sun is exalted here, Mars is in detriment. The quality of personality where achievement is accepted with equanimity and where continued development is allowed to take its natural course, right? Acceptance of achievement, but doubt whether continued development will take place. Okay. And then on the flip side, the tendency and achievement to immediately seek new goals at the risk of destabilizing what has already been accomplished, right? The pressure and achievement to still doubt one's capacities and to immediately seek new goals. All right. Well, we're here at the last gate, gate 64. We're here at the end of our video. Let's go ahead and get through these, put it on the record. Now, I'm not going to read the uh, appendix. Anyway, let's just read this and we'll talk about it in just a minute. Gate 64, which is in the head center. Before completion, confusion. Transition, like birth, requires a determined strength for the passage through. Absolutely. Line 6 is called victory. Mercury is exalted here, Venus is in detriment. The mental assuredness that knew that victory was inevitable, thus making triumph sweet, but not reason for excess. He knew it was going to happen, but you're not going to over celebrate, right? Yeah. It was inevitable. I'm glad it happened. This is sweet, but I'm not going to do anything excessive. The mental gift of enjoying the confusion and its diversity of data. So you're into it, right? On the flip side, like the story of the Trojan horse, it can be dangerous to get carried away in celebration, lest one loses vigilance and perspective. With all the diversity of data, it is easy to lose perspective, right? So keep that in mind. Glad to know it, right? The this and that of that. So knowing is half the battle, right? My 80s babies, G.I. Joe, right? Knowing is half the battle. Now we got to start to experiment to see if it's true and we can put it into practice. Line 5, promise. Venus is exalted here, Jupiter is in detriment. The values promised in any new order are demonstrated through harmonic interactions with others. This strengthens the justification for the struggle. Confusion over which values and relationships can bring harmony. Confusion over which values and relationships can bring harmony. So here you're struggling for harmony or harmonic interactions, and in doing so, it justifies the mean. The end justifies the means because it strengthens your justification for the struggle. All right. Hey, on the flip side, there's a tendency in trying to justify the struggle by focusing exclusively on the failure of the old order that cannot demonstrate the quality of the new. So here you're focusing on the past confusions about values and relationships, and you in a new day. We're doing something new now. But you keep going back, right? Low vibrational. The past is the past. We're in the now. It's all happening at the same time, right? But anyway, line 4, conviction. The moon is exalted here, Mars is in detriment. Symbolized by its phases, the moon is assured of transition, convinced by its very process that it will triumph. Absolutely. The assuredness that confusion is a process that results in realization. It'll all become clear. This is just part of the process. Absolutely. Yeah. Conviction. You okay? You'll be fine. On the flip side, Mars is in detriment, where force and energy alone cannot overcome doubt. Where the confusion is so energized, assuredness brings no relief. So there's a lot of that energy. It's very energized, energetic energy, right? Okay. Line 3 is called overextension. Saturn is exalted here. The moon is in detriment. The wisdom to recognize when one has not the necessary resources to complete transition. Such timely awareness may give it a chance to seek assistance. The wisdom to accept confusion as a temporary state that will be resolved in time or through others. Or through others. Come on. It made me think of divine appointments. I got this thing I believe in called divine appointments, right? You could be on your way to an appointment, or you're running errands. I got to do this. You got a whole plan, and you've been had this plan. It's on the to-do list. You've been waiting up. Now's the time. You're on your way, and a flat tire. Dang. You pull over, and then somebody pulls over to help you with this flat tire, and not only are they helping or whatever the case may be, they're actually assisting with another problem you've been ruminating over. So here you had a divine appointment. Here you had a divine appointment. You didn't even know. But the answer was on its way through somebody else. The magnetism is drawing them to you to deliver the message. You have to have the wisdom to recognize. You know what I mean? The wisdom to accept that you're to accept not knowing for a time, because you know that in time it will be resolved, or you will understand, you will reach clarity, even to the point of the clarity being sent from somebody else. Leave time in your day or in your life for the possibility of a divine appointment. Okay? So if you're into divine appointments, or you like that, type divine appointment in the chat, or the comments. Let me know you into divine appointments. You can understand the premise behind that and the logic behind it. You know what I mean? We don't know everything. I don't know everything. So the message could be sent from somebody else, or so whatever. I gotta wait for it though. I gotta wait for it. So the wisdom, the patience to wait for your divine appointment. On the flip side, the risk of a superficially confident personality that when transition collapses, there's no one to turn to. Overconfidence that the fates will be kind on demand. Mm-mm. That's ego for real. You think the hoodoo, the fates, the elements, angels, and gods are going to do what you say when you demand it? That's crazy. Stop it. Humble yourself, please. When you're in that kind of energy, humble yourself, please. Wholeness and balance. Get out that ego. That is crazy, unrealistic, and it's just not true. Line 2, qualification. Venus is exalted here. The moon is in detriment. An inner development which recognizes what qualities are essential for transcendence and the awareness that without them, action will fail. Inner development that can end the confusion over what makes sense, right? Or constantly in action, it wastes the very qualities and resources that it'll need, getting lost in the confusion and burdening the psyche, right? Burdening the psyche, right? So there's that. And then you have line 1, conditions. In penetrating to the center, and this is Venus exalted, once again, in penetrating to the center, the understanding that instills the necessary harmony to survive disorder. Okay, amongst the confusion, the difficulty in finding the point. Got you. So you in penetrating to the center, you have an understanding that will give you the necessary harmony to survive disorder. Uh, for the most part, or sometimes it's a this and that to that energy, if you will. So at other times, Mars is in detriment in this energy. And there you have the powerful temptation that when having transition in sight to hasty action, right? An urge to act when you think you have made sense of the confusion. So now you're in a rush to hasty action. You think you have the answer, right? Mm, okay. Well, that was interesting to say the least. That was very interesting. We've all learned a lot more about ourselves and each other. We've all learned a lot about each other in this human design book club. I mean, in this openly cultured book club. Reading this human design, I'm going to keep track of, in future, speaking futuristically, I'm going to keep track of what I think helped people the most, the understandings, the books that we read, which ones I think had a great impact in helping people understand. I'm going to keep track of that because I think we definitely learned a lot about ourselves and each other. If you've read this whole book with me, if you've gone through this journey with me, wow, kudos to you. And if you're new, there's a playlist. You can go back to watch the beginning, watch the very first episode, the introduction and foreword. If this has been intriguing to you, all right? And I'm your host. I like to read. I like to talk about these things. And I'm looking for my tribe, people that are also into this, so that we can have, and I'm building a safe place for us to talk about it, so we can talk about these kind of things and not be called witches and pagans and all kind of derogatory terms by people who just don't know no better because they're not aware of this occultic information. It's been hidden for a reason. You know what I mean? So but now's the time. It's the age of Aquarius. Here's a quote from Ra Uru Hu, the founder of the Human Design System. He says, "Every time I teach at any level of this knowledge, I'm always struck by the same thing. Without strategy and authority, there's nothing in this life. There's nothing but homogenization, confusion, and distortion. As long as the mind is involved, there's no way out. There isn't. As long as the mind is controlling your life, there's absolutely nothing you can do. You're lost. You're just lost. And you end up suffering deeply. It's so simple. This is the whole thing. It's the deconditioning. It's the deconditioning away from homogenization to differentiation, right? It's about being able to accept a possibility, and it's only a possibility, it's not a probability, a possibility that along this way, there are those with whom you can commune with in an extraordinary way. It's what we're here for. I so enjoyed being able to teach at a very high intellectual level, to be able to deal with things that are essential truths about the nature of being and the nature of life. It's a privilege. It's a great privilege. And that it's more than just chit chat because I am a five. It's practical. Bye for now. That's the founder of the Human Design System, Ra Uru Hu. He's since passed away. He passed away before the book was published, but after, or pretty much towards the end of the book being written. He you see his quotes. It's been authorized. He does the foreword, the introduction. He has quotes in between here. These are his words authorized to be put in this book. This is the only authorized version, authorized book of the Human Design System, authorized by him. And if you start diving into other writings of human design, you'll find that you really don't get a lot of books by Ra Uru Hu. You get transcriptions of his speeches and talks. It's transcribed, but it's not like he sat down and wrote a book. So, wow, we made it through, guys. We spent a whole year giving time to this huge system. There's a lot to learn. We took our time and reread it. If you're here with me, I need you to meet me in the CGH chat room. I got a free, you can get a free copy of this book. Section 11, we're not going to read that. So you're going to want to get a free copy because there's still good information in the appendix in section 11. So if you meet me in the CGH chat room, you can get a copy of this book, a free PDF of this. I'll email it to you. I'm just scrolling through so you can see what all it's talking about, you know. And there's a lot more that you can learn. This is not even telling everything that you can learn about human design in this book, right? Um, Rave, I-ching, and talking about variables. You know, remember when I showed you my chart and it had arrows at the top with little numbers next to it? This is good. You got a little quick uh, quick graph or quick graphic showing the different gates and their names and stuff. That's what's up. And the channels and what have you. Good to have. Um, yeah, when I showed you my human design chart, let me pull it up. There's variables on the top, little arrows, right? Little arrows and numbers at the top. We didn't even talk about variables within this book. We didn't even talk about variables in this book. So, there's a lot more still to learn because you can learn about what's the good environment for you to live in, the things, the good diet, which your digestion is made up of. And of course, we're not just talking about how your body digests food, but also digests information, processes information, maybe even processes feelings, right? So, you still have a lot more to learn. This is really a beginner type book, right? And since I'm not really a professional, I'm not a master at this. I thought it would be good for me to read the beginner because I can speak in I'm not using completely technical terms while reading this. It can still be like we're discovering it together, speaking in non-professional languages and terms, and we can understand each other. You can understand what I'm saying. I'm not so removed from basic understanding that, you know what I mean? So I thought it was best that I do this. And I did it. We did it. And now I want you to know there's a lot more that you can learn. There's a lot more that you can learn when it comes to the Openly Occultic Book Club. Right? So we're gonna get out of here. We've been live for like hours, right? Almost 4 hours. Right? I want you to like, share, and subscribe. Right? Make sure you click notifications because we are going to come back in the next few days. I'm going to go live again. We'll come back and we'll start on the next book. We're going to start on a new book. You're going to love it. If you're a Christian or, religious, Abrahamic religions, if you still got one foot in or both feet in, I want you to listen. I want you to come. I want you to click notifications. I want you to tune in to the next book that we're going to read. This is going to be for you because you would be surprised at the different understandings of biblical scriptures. So I think you should join us. I'd really appreciate it. And then we want to share, we want to get this information out there. We want more people to hear about other understandings of scriptures, right? In occultic writings, there's layers to this. There's levels to understanding this Bible. It's interesting how the conscious works because as you get more conscious, you can see other understandings in the Bible or the Quran. So, you might just now be waking up. I call this wake up season. You might just now be waking up and you're reading this Bible and getting literal interpretations. And it makes all the sense in the world to you. And then you could come back, 3 or 4 or 5 years later and you're more conscious and you're seeing that the book is written in code, that there's another understanding that can definitely unfold right before your eyes. So I think now is the time for us to read this. It's a good time for us to read it. These won't be my words. I'm not just sitting here talking. I'm going to read out of a book, and the book will be on screen. We can read it together, and you can meet us in the Openly Occultic Book Club, right? To discuss these things. So we can talk about uh, the things we're reading here in a safe place, right? A safe space where you're not going to be judged by, maybe you got all kind of other Christians and they don't want to talk about this stuff. Well, we want to be able to talk about it, and we don't want nobody to stop us or interrupt us and distract us and try to take us off topic and deflect and all. No, we want to talk about this around other people that are talking about this. So, you know what I mean? Somewhere we can commune, a community, if you will. So I certainly hope you join us on that day when we do that. You're going to have to click the notification so that you will get it. It's definitely going to be alive. So hopefully, I'll see you soon. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Hope you have a good day. And until we meet up here again, wholeness and balance.